Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Welcome to episode 89 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Paris. This is Chris.
Hello.
And this is our special guest today, TJ.
Hello.
This time, we read Blood of the Fold by Terry Goodkind, book 3 in the Sword of Truth series. We are back in the Midlands with Richard and Kalan, however you want to say it, as well as TJ, who is our woods guide throughout these dumb and horny lands. If you're interested to know more about Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth series, you can check out episodes 3 and 22 of the Terrible Book Club, where we reviewed Wizard's First Rule and Stone of Tears, respectively. If this is your first time listening to the show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is we read books that we assume will be bad, and this is based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of those three things. So we do the opposite of what most people do when they're in a bookstore or browsing through titles on Amazon. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we actually end up liking the book. Today, for content warnings, we have our usual barnyard language, plus sex. Oh man, this series is horny as fuck.
Plenty of that.
Yep, we got body shaming, ageism, torture, violence, and sexual assault, our annoying friend who just won't leave the content warning party.
Paris, before you read the summary of the book, how many episodes in a row have we done with that in the warning recently?
I mean, I don't know, but if you go by percentage, it's a majority.
Yeah.
It's woof.
Y'all do a lot of fantasy, right? Like I feel like that happens so much in fantasy.
It does, but a lot of our output isn't. I would say like that we do like, I don't know, like 10 to 15% fantasy books, and the rest is just it keeps showing up.
Anyway, we'll talk about that as we get into the content of the episode. So the summary for Blood of the Fold is thus: Richard Rahl and Kalan, Umnell stand against the forces that besiege the New World. Forces so terrible that when they last threatened, the wizards of long ago sealed off the old world from the new. Now that barrier has been breached. The fanatical Blood of the Fold, sworn enemies of magic, roam the New World, unwitting pawns of the sorcerous evil at the heart of the old. To save the world, Richard and Kalan must become one with the power of their love and their truth capitalized. Truth is capitalized.
Okay, I guess let's just settle this right at the start, because this is already an issue.
Yeah, I ruined Paris.
Okay, Kalan, or Colin?
Well, TJ is the authority on the matter, so I will default to his pronunciation. TJ, what is your preferred pronunciation for our main female lead here?
I just like Kaylin because the other ones sound too close to the male name Colin.
Okay, so, Kaylin it is. Kaylin. All right, we got it. We're getting
established right at the outset. Okay.
All right. Chris, you want to go over our characters and setting?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we're going to meet some new folks in here, but we've got the main crew to start us off, which is, Richard, Kaylin, Zed, Gratch, Addie, and, that's pretty much the core group of protagonists, right?
Yeah,
Verna.
Sure. She's a major focus in this book, but I don't know if, in previous books she probably didn't have quite as much of a role there.
Yeah, she was called the boring chapters in this one.
So, yeah.
We've got... TJ, we're going to fight. All right. Chris, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've got Sister Verna taking a major role amongst all, because we haven't left fuck school. It's still we're a prominent setting here.
We're still spending some semesters in fuck school.
There's a crew of Sisters of the Dark named Ulysia, Marissa, Armina, Tovi, Cecilia, and Nikki, who pop in and out here sometimes. We've got Tobias Brogan and Lunetta of the Blood of the Fold, which we'll have plenty to talk about. Jagang, the Emperor, what a name there. Then we've got a cadre of Mord Sith that pop up as Richard's bodyguards, Berdine, Holly, and Reyna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wait. Holly? Is that...
Yeah,
she's the one who dies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. So
Like
wait,
That's why you don't remember her, is
then,
because she's there to die quickly.
No, so it's Berdine, Kara, and Reyna.
Yeah, they all have red uniforms, but she's the red uniform of the red
Right.
uniforms.
Yeah.
We also have Warren the Prophet, Prelate Annalena, and Nathan.
Yeah, and then we've got various Daharan soldiers, which really unimportant, honestly. There's a couple that are named, doesn't really matter. And then we've got the various magical creatures, like, you know, I don't know if you want to call them characters, but they do speak. There's some Rizwith from the last book, those invisible lizard type of people there. They're popping up again. And yeah, I think that's the whole ensemble dramatique. Right?
Yeah, I think so. All right, so again, if you're not familiar with this fantasy world and you actually care, you can go back to episodes 3 and 22. TJ was also our guest guide on episode 22. If you don't give a shit, though, let's head on out. Let's go.
All right, so first things first, Paris. How hot is each Sister of the Dark? We need to get down to business immediately.
Yeah.
Because that's what Terry decides to do.
That's how you open a book, right? You start ranking the hotness of some nude accessory female characters. That's how you start a book. It's how they teach you.
Let's set the scene here. There's 6 naked women in a ship hold who are cold and frightened.
Sorry.
It seems like they're frightened, but turns out they're not, because they're the ones that bought the ship, and they're just naked and freezing in a ship hold. It's very much written as if they're prisoners.
They're frightened and feeling imprisoned because of Jagang, who is in their dreams, but no, they are not physically imprisoned.
That's sort of Terry's little writing twist up at the top here, right? Is like, I will say that that's one decent move there that he did. Terry, I will just say this outright, Terry has the potential to have some good writing here and there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He occasionally touches on like interesting things. Like, it's kind of interesting in the start when they're talking about Jagang, like, in their dreams, and they're like, oh, the keeper of the underworld is like saying we have to follow this guy now, so we'll do it for now. And that's why they're so scared, but they're also like kind of above it all, like, oh, this is just a man, we don't care about him, but you know, they're still terrified for whatever reason.
Yeah, and these women are talking about, it's sisters Alicia, Marissa, Armina, Tovi, Cecilia, and Nikki, who are the Sisters of the Dark from the previous book, who kind of defected to serve ostensibly Satan in this universe. The what the fuck? Sorry, you just
they call him the Keeper.
The Keeper. Thank you.
For some reason.
Yeah.
So you can't score a goal. That's the important thing.
and yeah, I don't. But yeah, like Chris made this point. It's like, I don't understand why they're all sleeping naked just on basic ass mattresses in a ship that they rented. It's kind of weird.
I know. It's so Terry Goodkind can detailed describe their naked bodies.
Oh
once
yeah,
they wake up sweating from this.
Sorry,
dream.
I meant I was searching for a real reason in the text. Yeah.
A plot.
No,
reason.
but that's the real reason, Paris.
Like, Terry, like, I noticed immediately that Terry hates like old fat women so much that he had to make up a bunch of fictional ones just to mock their bodies.
Yeah, sure
like,
did.
okay,
That's just how this starts, and I was immediately annoyed. It was just, fuck, man. Like, why we gotta do this?
And they're not even that old. It's like one of them's 40, and he's like,
Yeah.
this old
is...
withered creature.
One of the lines is not as old as the other two women, but still attractive. It's like, okay, man. Some barbershop talk.
Anyway, they're all, Ugh. They're all up on in the boat, and then you're like, oh, they're naked. They must be in prison. No, they're just sleeping together that way because, I don't know, Terry had his pants down when he was writing this first chapter immediately.
Okay,
is Terry
Goodkind ever not jerking off while writing a series?
I think he's just lightly rubbing it.
Yeah. Like there's a halfie at all times, right?
The kind you could get away with on the train.
Oh, fuck.
All right. Well, anyway, they come out of the hold naked because that's what hot ladies do, right? Is they just walk in. Then some sailors look at them, and then they're murdered for looking at the naked women that stepped out onto their ship deck because they're evil naked women, you see.
Yes.
And that's the end of the chapter, pretty much.
Yeah, it starts off on a real weird foot. Yeah, I don't know. And then we switch back to Richard and Gratch, and we were just talking about how Gratch is a weird thing in this series.
I kind of like him.
Yeah, they justified it at the end. Like, I thought that, like, at least they kind of did. But with the ladies up top, sorry to plot summarize, but basically all that happens, they come out, they yell at the guys for looking at them even though they're naked, and then they basically say, like, turn this ship around to go towards the guy that had them terrified in their dreams. So
yeah, even
nothing makes sense in that first chapter.
I know, they were initially going the opposite way, and then they're suddenly like, no, we have to go back, and it's okay, what was even the point of this chapter? I don't know. Gratch is weird because I kind of wish he was accorded more of a human role and more personhood, because he's clearly got high levels of sentience. Like, he understands human language and intention, and I don't know, I don't know how I feel about the weird kind of role that he has. It's sort of strange. I don't know.
Have you mentioned yet that he's like a big furry beast monster that can fly?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, we should probably mention what this is.
Gratch he's a gar.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't even know if there's I'm going to see if there's like a image on the internet.
Yeah, he's like a gargoyle. That's Paris. It's just gargoyle with the goyle chopped off.
Wow, I feel really stupid for not realizing that.
Oh my god, is this really? Are you
Did
serious?
you guys not pick that up?
No.
Nope.
Wait, but what about the blood flies? That's like extra gross.
Sure, that's just his spin on gargoyles.
Yeah, he has to add something different.
Oh, but oh man, I didn't get that at all.
Hey, I didn't either, and I've read this since I was like 11, so...
It's a gargoyle. All right. But I think, Paris, the problem you have is like his speech pattern, which make him seem stupid, let's say, but he can follow directions. But then he does the whole Gratch how do you say this? Please, everyone give me...
Rickard. Gratch lug Rickard is kind of how the text reads. Just like swallow each word at the end.
Anyway, he's a big sentient puppy for Richard to command to do hard things, and he can also see Mariswith, which have been attacking he's back at, where's Richard again?
He's at the
right?
The Confessor's Palace in Aidendrill.
Yeah, and so some Mariswith have been showing up, and they're invisible reptiles, but Richard is pretty good against them because he can just sense them, which is the beginning of my major problem with Richard in general, and of course still in this book, which is just that Richard can do it because he's protagonist and always correct, and he will always be okay. It doesn't matter if there's any invisible creatures here because he can just sense them. So any danger from them is nullified against Richard because of his, I don't know, lizard smell abilities.
Yeah. He's like Goku and Jesus rolled up into one. Like,
yeah.
Well, and then it's, first it's like, well, Richard is the only person who can sense them, and then come to find out, oh no, Gars can just see them. Like, all Gars can just see Mariswith, and somehow nobody else has figured this out yet.
They don't interact, because I think they're like in very different areas of the world at this point. But
yeah, maybe.
So I've got to stop justifying the bad writing
by
knowing the writing from later.
No, it's not necessarily bad writing. I guess I do feel like it's kind of lazy to be like, oh, Richard's best friend and protector can also see them now. Oh, by the way, his entire species can see them, so...
His entire species was specifically created to see them, we find out at the very end of the book.
Yeah, and so...
That's not justification, Terry.
So to me,
that's
super
every
lazy.
problem in this book.
Yes, exactly. They don't have to work for any real solutions. Things are like, it's just like, oh, good thing those wizards from thousands of years ago already took care of this for us.
I mean, the whole reason we're on Gratch here is because there's like a Mariswith encounter with Richard and Gratch that he's... Basically, they get out of it mostly unscathed. I don't think Richard even takes a wound. He might get scratched a little bit, but he's fine after all that. And then he sends... I don't think he sends Gratch off at this point. That's a little bit later, but you're just getting the feel for Gratch and Richard's relationship established so that Gratch can be sent off to do a long-form errand later on.
Chris, I'm just going to jump to your question for me about Mariswith, if you would like to ask me.
Sure. So this is a little bit out of context for TJ since he hasn't read Malazan. As he told us a little bit off air before, he's only ever read this book series is what he claims. So
a few others, but I'll stay by it.
Yeah. Anyway, so in Malazan, they also have lizard creatures called the Kachain Shamal, which are basically raptors with knives for hands. And I wanted to ask Paris, what's cooler, Mariswith or Kachain Shamal?
As much as I love Malazan, Kachain Shamal always seemed kind of dumb. I love me some swords, and lizards are fine. But why do we have to give the lizards sword arms? Why is this a thing? Why do we gotta combine lizards and sharp stuff? It's almost like you've got like a preteen in a mall, and he walks by the pet store, and he's like, yeah, lizards, and he walks by, the sketchy weapons store, and he's like, yeah, swords. He's like, oh man, what if I put those together? Like, that's the origin of all fantasy author, like U.S. male fantasy authors in the last couple decades. I remember reading Malazan and reading about the Kachain Shamal and being like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. They're lizards with swords for arms? That's so stupid. I did not like that.
Paris, what you're saying is Terry Goodkind makes better magical creatures than Steven Erikson?
No, I didn't give you my ruling about which is better.
Oh, I thought that's where we were headed. I assumed. I'm sorry.
No. The Mariswith are just like kind of your garden variety lizard person, with
turn invisible.
They have capes that make them invisible, right?
Ooh. I think that I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know if it's the
Richard,
cape.
Yeah, because Richard has the cape that
oh,
makes
you mean
him
there's some
invisible.
unexplained magic happening in Sword of Truth? Heavens, it couldn't be true.
yeah, oh no. And they have, so Mariswith are kind of your standard lizard folk if you've ever played a fantasy game or D&D, and they've got, clearly got a language, they've got these weapons, kind of like, imagine Wolverine claws, that they kind of... But obviously they're not in their flesh. They're weapons that they slip their hands into. I'm sure they have a name.
Pantera.
What?
Pantera.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Is that really what they're called?
Yes, it's a
I
Pantera.
thought it was just a stupid southerner name. I thought it was just dumb.
Wait, what's a Pantera, Chris?
Like when you have a 3-clawed weapon that you grab in your hand and slash with, like Wolverine.
There's called a Yabri. So.
Yeah. In this series, it's a Yabri, but in real life, it's called a Pantera.
Oh my god.
Get your pull.
I've blown your guys' minds twice this episode.
Wow.
So
I feel
be prepared
so
for further revelations.
I had no idea. I thought that was just a... Wow. Okay. Moving on.
It is I, the first wizard, Chryssicus.
Chryssicus Musiker.
Okay,
chapter 4.
So, sorry.
Yeah, let's continue,
So we're still talking about Mariswith. So anyway, they're lizard folk. They have these...
But which one's cooler? Pass, quick. Which one's cooler?
The Kachain Shamal.
Okay. Problem
The Kachain
solved.
Shamal.
Okay, continuing with the story.
But, okay. Anyway, fine. We can move on from the...
Well, basically, Gratch and Richard just like they dispatch a bunch of Mryswith and they impress like this cook lady who was scared of Gratch before, but now she knows he's good because you just saw him rip apart a bunch of creatures, and that makes her want to hug him for some reason. It's like, okay, that's the book we're reading. All right, on to chapter 4. Ooh, religious zealots.
And then the next we're introduced to Tobias Brogan and his sister Lunetta. Brogan is the leader of the Blood of the Fold, who are this, like, I don't know, anti-magic military force, if that makes sense. And they are part of the Imperial Order, is that right?
Not yet.
No.
They've heard good things, but they aren't part of them yet.
Oh, I thought
they were under some other king that they dispatched because they decided he was magical leaning.
Yeah.
So they were originally under this one. Yeah, they were under that king, and they killed him because he was magic flavored for whatever reason, and they broke off to form their own band of magic killers. I don't.
They've been around forever.
Yeah. Well, see, when TJ saw that we were reading this book finally, he pointed to the title of the book, Blood of the Fold, and he, said something that didn't turn out to be true in the course of this from what I understood from reading it, but it was completely sellable to me knowing Terry Goodkind. Basically, I was trying to figure out what is the Blood of the Fold, and I immediately landed on menstrual blood?
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, oh, was this going to be some book about, like, magical menstrual blood? I could see that happening, but luckily it's not.
Which makes so much more sense than what they actually are. Like, I don't know the reason for that name. I just know they've been around forever because AD was like, that's why she was blind and can't talk, because the Blood of the Fold poured, like, molten iron down her throat or whatever. So
Wait,
they've been around
what?
for at least a while.
I
yeah,
don't remember learning that.
Yeah,
Really?
you shouldn't. It's dumb. But
she can talk just fine.
yeah, she uses her magic to like heal her throat. But like when she was being tortured, they like brought in her boyfriend. And it's like, well, she could say anything right now and you'd be free, but she can't. It's because they poured iron down her throat. And it's like, yeah, she healed herself. That's why they talk about her talking with a rasp. It sounds like, gravel going down her throat. It's because they burned her. So that's how I know they're around.
I knew that I knew that she had dealt with them before. I just didn't remember that detail, so thank you.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to Tobias Brogan and his sister, and this is, I'm going to go on a rant about the depiction of evil in literature, so come along with me, friends. So you're immediately supposed to know this is big bad evil guy, right? And so to demonstrate that, they're like, hey, he cuts off nipples and lets his friend rape people. And you're like, oh, all right. And for me, again, so obviously representation is an endorsement, and like, of course, you have to have bad characters. But can we get more creative villains, or at least descriptions of heinous acts that aren't voyeuristic and shallow? Because that's how they are in this series. Like, personally, I'd rather be way deeper into the kind of the perpetrator, like who they are and how they came to be, way deeper into the mind of the victim than reading something as simple as, and then he cuts her nipple off and his friend rapes her. Like, it's just cartoonish, and it makes it feel less as though you should be thinking, oh, fuck, the world is awful people born of awful circumstance. Let me sit with this and think about it. And it ends up being more like, bad guy in fantasy book, bad. Good thing I can't relate to this at all and can just keep reading, which serves no one. And for me, like, a villain is much more compelling and alive, as is the book in which that villain appears, when you can find yourself agreeing with them sometimes, or understanding how their psychosis has evolved. And Terry's villains are so fucking shallow. God, they're, like I said, so shallow, so cartoonishly evil. It drives me nuts. Okay.
Dark and Raw is like comparatively like mildly nuanced compared to every other villain that he does. Like the friend you keep talking about, like he explicitly states, I prefer rape to having consensual sex. Like,
yeah.
Brogan is like, I can have my sister cast a spell so she doesn't put up a fight, which is also awful. But like the guy literally says, well, what fun would that be? It's like, that's not a person. What person is that?
Yeah, I mean, and of course there are horrible monsters in reality, but there's complexity to how those people came to be and how they operate. It's not really, it's unconvincing, and it comes off as, like I said, just voyeuristic and shallow. Like that whole rape scene and torture scene at the beginning is just, fuck, man. Terry,
that's the kind of guy where you're like, even if it's like a group of friends that are all rapists, if a guy says that, like, hey man, what's going on with you? Like,
even amongst us rapists,
we're all in jail. We all know what we did, but
well, I mean, to be honest, yeah. Like, I know this is, a hard thing to talk about, but I think Chris and I have talked about it a lot on this show because as we said at the beginning, we so often have to deal with sexual assault in media. I just think that there's a way to portray it that is more nuanced and more interesting, even if it's difficult to read. And this is not it. It's not it. This is the bad way to go about it, because then you start...
I'm trying to think of, does Terry, has he written a villain that does not rape?
No, they all rape.
Oh. Yeah, they all do, don't they?
Well, and this is why I feel like this kind of a system super sucks, because it's all forcible... God, I'm really sorry for saying this, but it's all like forcible male on female penetrative rape, right? Like, and I fucking hate, I'm sorry that I even had to say that, but like, that is all that Terry's villains do. It's kind of all he focuses on. I think the only example where that's reversed is when Richard is being tortured by the latex ladies. Mordson, thank you.
I was gonna say that's like that's like comparatively, it like makes you think he might do something interesting with his rapes in the future, because it's like pretty much an extended thing of her just repeatedly raping Richard. If you like, if you want to call it.
This has been a rough couple minutes. So terrible book,
yeah,
guys.
sorry.
I'm just trying. Yeah, I'm glad to get away from this.
Yeah, but I mean, again, so in the first book, the main character is raped and tortured by a woman. But after that, I just want to say, Richard never deals with that trauma. Never does. It's like, he's just done with it after it happens.
Well, he does like a man and he pushes it down. That's
exactly, yeah.
He comes back to his thoughts. He's like, nope, pushing that down, pushing it down.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like all women who are abused in this series do they all die, are enslaved forever, and destroyed? Is that kind of right?
Some of them survive and move on. There's also, like, it depends on at what point, because, like, Kaylin was attempted to have been assaulted many times, but her being the main female character, I guess you have to keep her untouched for whatever reason.
Yeah. They can't.
So even like stuff like stuff like that, it just reveals that very like black and white way of seeing everything. Everything in Sword of Truth is very clearly black and white, evil or good, pure or unpure.
But, yeah, and also just the idea that he can't let Kaylin be God, fuck, I'm sorry, but he can't let her really, quote unquote, really get raped, because then, as TJ said, it would ruin her as a protagonist, which is a fucked up way to think. Jesus Christ, I can't believe. Sorry, and I know we've been talking about this for like 10 minutes, but it really drives me nuts that so many books, especially fantasy books, have these kind of thoughts about purity and sexual assault and things like that.
What's funny is, like, later in the book, too, like, Kaylin forgives Richard for sleeping with another woman, which he didn't do. So it's like, not only does she have to be pure, but she has to, like, forgive him for any perceived potential infidelity. Yep. Like, she gives him a hall pass, sort of.
Totally.
Another great example of just the gross thinking that seeps out of the pages of this book whenever anything horny is brought up. And horny is brought up all the time.
Oh, so yeah, speaking of...
I know we've been sticking on this for like the past 5 to 7 minutes, but it's just so woven into the fabric of Sword of Truth that you can't not talk about it for at least 15 minutes. So prepare for more of this to come up, everyone.
Yeah,
double content warning.
So the fuck school is back. If you weren't
Speaking
here
of
for
more
episode
problematic
22,
horniness.
Yeah, if you weren't here for episode 22, fuck school is the Palace of the Prophets, managed by the Sisters of the Light, it is in its own little time bubble where time moves much more slowly. So people that live at the Palace of the Prophets age very, very slowly and live for hundreds or thousands of years. Hundreds of years. And we're back there a little bit to see Verna a little more. But, yeah, the fuck school is just... Man, so the whole idea of fuck school, the reason we keep calling it that, is there. The idea is that these Sisters of the Light train wizards. So all wizards are male. And the Sisters of the Light are magical, but they're not confessors. They have different powers. They're just like female wizards, basically. They train wizards by collaring them and fucking them, basically. And
their
you
excuse
see,
is like wizards at a certain point got so greedy with their power that they refused to teach young wizards. So the Sisters of the Light, like, well, we'll take up the mantle and train these young wizards, but twist, females can't teach males. Like, they don't know how to do it. They just suck for whatever reason.
Right.
So they have to have this place where time moves slow because it takes these dumb broads decades and centuries just to teach one wizard how to, like, make a thing of fire. So that's their... And they fuck them because they want more wizards. Like, well, that's how we reproduce people with the gift.
they also fuck them because you see, young men have to have the focus fucked into them, because you see, they can't focus if their dick is not being fucked all the time.
They can't control their urges, as stated
Nope.
like dozens of
Oh
times
my
in
God.
this one book.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to remember, this is from 1996, so whenever I saw shit like that, I was like, it was a different time, and I just turned to the page. I couldn't do
Yeah, but
anything else.
I don't know, man. It's still pretty inexcusable
No,
to me.
it is,
Like,
absolutely.
the whole, and again, we've talked about how this book, the series is not really kind to anyone. In terms, if we're talking binary genders here, because in the Sword of Truth series, there is nothing else, let me tell you.
There aren't even non-white people. In
No.
this series.
Yeah.
There's literally not a single non-white person in the entirety of this book series. So, like, gender binary, woof.
Oof, yeah, and I mean, if the book is not kind to men or women, women have, God, yeah,
I'm an equal opportunity offender. Hey.
basically. God, sorry,
Hey,
I
everybody.
lost my point. That I was. Oh, right, the whole men can't control their urges thing. That's fucking bullshit. Like, can we not do that? Can we not?
No,
Can we
because-
not encourage that in readers, please? Like.
Honestly, everything in Terry Goodkind's world is extremely binary, because we've got the good and bad, pure and unpure, male and female, with how, like, the magic works, because you've got additive and subtractive. One gender can use one and another gender can use the other, unless you're a man who's a war wizard who can use both because you're a special man.
Chris. That's not how it
Really
works.
not? Oh shit, I got that
No.
wrong.
For thousands of years, people were born with additive and subtractive magic, and at a certain point, subtractive started dying, and eventually they just didn't have it anymore. The Sisters of the Dark have subtractive magic because they get raped in the forest by that demon creature.
Oh, right, of
And,
course.
Oh, right.
and Richard has it just because he's a very special boy.
Of course.
Oh,
How could I
okay.
forget?
Okay.
All right, well,
so where are
getting
we
that
in
bit
story?
of lore well, I just wanted to have a little point about how everything is binary.
It's very binary. It's
Yeah.
not so binary that it's like the broads only have the minus stuff because they just take from you. Hey.
That's how I thought it was for the whole read
I know,
of this.
it did really seem like that.
I need to be minorly fair to this. bad
Okay,
author. That's
fair.
all.
Okay.
Minorly.
And to be clear, I think we all find binary things pretty boring, and that's why it's not good for us. I mean, for me anyway.
It's very dumb.
Yeah, I don't find it very boring. Or rather, I do find it very boring. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. All right, where the fuck are we in the story?
We were
Palace
back
of
at
the
fuck school
Prophets.
because Sister Verna gets named prelate by a magic deus ex machina thing, which is just how every problem / plot point starts in this series. Turns out the last prelate, Annalena, left a ring that if you can put the ring on, or was it you to touch it or something?
The sword. It was the sword of the stone kind of a thing, except
Yeah,
it was the
I
ring on the
forget- I read this-
pedestal.
I read this book like 2 months ago, guys, so
It was
I'm a
magically-
little
it was-
fuzzy.
Yeah,
It was
I just
magically
finished
protected.
it 5 minutes before this started.
Oh, wow, fresh. TJ just got done folding blood. His hands are still covered.
Yeah. Verna gets picked as new prelate because Annalena left a magic ring on a pedestal that chooses the new prelate. And then there's like 2 or 3 chapters of her just doing like admin work where she's swamped by all the paperwork and she doesn't know how to delegate. And that's a big problem. That's her major conflict for a couple chapters with Verna.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was like, Verna, come on, we all need like a CFO or a COO to sign off on shit so you can just do what you need to do. I said, you've been alive long enough to know this. Deputize someone else to do this shit.
She figures it out like halfway through the book, and it's a huge revelation to her that she can delegate because, hey, turns out the previous prelate wasn't really dead. She faked her own death, and she's sending messages through a journey book. And that the former prelate is just, hey, just get someone else to do that. Why are you doing it? Just have it someone else. You have so many underlings. Verna, why?
Yeah, I don't really understand why that was a revelation that needed to happen. It seemed
and even
like a waste
then
of
she
time.
like uses reverse psychology to convince her like subordinates to do the work. She's like, well, the other ladies, I don't know, it kind of sound like they thought you were a bunch of dummies and couldn't even handle it, and then they just jump to do the work. It's like, why don't you just order them to do it? Just tell them, just be like, do the fucking work because I'm your boss.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it either. It's like, what the fuck? It's really weird.
That's why we're back at fuck school anyways, because Verna is in her new prelate position. She's finding it very tough to handle. And there's, it's just a way to hold her in place at the Palace of the Prophets for a bit, right?
Yeah, and Verna was important in the last book because she was the one who was sent from the palace to find Richard to bring him to the fuck palace. And she and Richard actually have a good relationship. Honestly, so TJ, I said we were going to fight before we started recording because TJ mentioned that the Verna chapters were all boring, whereas I was like, can we just get a book that was all the Verna chapters? Because I was way more invested in that. I was way more invested in Verna becoming the prelate and trying to like figure out who the Sisters of the Dark were and like all the intrigue and trying to save Warren and figure out the prophecies.
She doesn't do any of that.
She doesn't.
Like if she did any of those things, then I could be invested too. But like to me, when I see Verna in my mind, I just see the meanest teacher from my Christian high school, and she's constantly talking about the Creator, and it's like, I know your heart's in the right place, but I just don't care. I'm sorry. And then like other than her romance with Warren, like that's kind of
but can we talk about how Verna and Warren, they can't possibly be together because you see, Verna left the Palace of the Prophets for 20 years, so she aged 20 years, and now she looks like she's 40. So she's an old, worn-out hag. She can't possibly date Warren, who looks like he's 20. And it's
only he thinks that. To be fair, it's like mildly like nice because he's like, well, I think you're beautiful. It's like Terry being like, this guy's fucking nuts to me, but I guess he likes this girl. Like,
well, no, but that doesn't even happen until the very, very end. Throughout the whole book, there's talk about, Verna being like, well, I guess we can't date because I'm old and ugly.
To the age difference.
And then they mention that she's only 40, and I'm like, what? I'm like, that's not old. What are you talking?
Well, they're both 150.
Yeah, but really, they're like both over 150, 200 years old, where like the time ratios are going to be a little more forgiving there, guys, despite how you physically aged. 130 to 200 years of experience. Maybe, what do I know? Maybe there is a vast difference between a 200-year-old and a 130-year-old. You haven't seen enough shit yet. You've only lived 1.5 centuries.
You unlock a secret hole at 45.
You get an extra brain at 200 years old, turns out.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like, if you're both in your hundreds, like, what does it really matter at that point?
No, they're both like literally 150. I think 150 something.
Old? No, is that right? I thought they were older than
Warren
that.
says to Richard, when Richard realizes that there's a time spell that he somehow doesn't get for a whole book, in book 2, he's like, haha, Richard, you called me a young man. I'm 150 years old. And Richard's like, oh, fuck, I won't get to fuck Kaylin because I'll be so old. Well, she'll be so old. Oh, no, I have to destroy this whole palace.
Even worse.
She'll be old. Gross.
Oh, God. and so, but I liked the Verna chapters more because they were just so sexless and wonderful.
There wasn't as much rape. For the lack of rape.
There's no sexy stuff. There's none of that. It's just a solid mystery. I was into the mystery chapters.
I wanted no mystery. She doesn't solve a mystery.
Well,
she doesn't. But I think I know why, Paris. I know why you like these chapters more than the rest of the book, and it's my central problem with the whole entire book, which is that in the Verna chapters, there's a consistent conflict and mystery that is a through line through all of them, whereas in the Richard stuff, or even the Kaelin stuff, problems will pop up in a chapter and be solved at tops a chapter or two later, so then the next chapter has to be a completely different problem that also gets solved by magical deus ex machina. Whereas with Verna, it's just a normal old, let's root out the Sisters of the Dark and try to figure out how to delegate tasks, which is her. It just keeps going that way, so there's an actual through line.
I think you're right. I think that's a good point. So the points are, it's a through line, it's a mystery, it's not sexy. And I think also I just like Verna more as a character than Richard.
She's a good person. Nobody else in the book really is ever a good person. Richard thinks he's good, but he just has good intentions. He does not care about the consequences of his actions. I wanted to get back to Idendrill if we're done with the palace, but if you want to go palace more.
Yeah. So if basically Terry, if we could get I'm gonna put my order in for I don't know, Nancy Drew, but it's Verna. Can I just get some of that? That'd be good.
He wrote a Nikki spinoff, so it's he's still doing that. So.
Oh my God, he's still doing this?
It's till not long ago. He just once he finished the main Sword of the Tree, he's like, well, what's Nikki up to? You know, the sexy blonde witch. And then let's see her kill some people.
Wait, is she blonde? I thought she had black hair. Anyway, doesn't matter.
I couldn't tell them apart. They were all the same person.
Naming off all 6 of the sisters, and I want Mambo number 5 to start playing.
Little bit of Toby.
I know one of these people's names. I know Nikki and Alicia and Marissa.
Little bit of Marissa cuts off my head. Little bit of Alicia. Now I'm dead.
I only know these names because I just read it today.
Okay, so let's go back to Aidendrill per TJ's request here.
Because I think of different alternate titles for these books. I Sold You on book 2. It's Harry Potter Goes to Fuck School.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first book, based on the plot, could very easily be called The Man with the Magic Penis. And this book, I struggled to figure out a name for it until a few chapters in. It's Mr. Richard Goes to Washington.
Yeah.
Most of what Richard fucking does is just bullshit politics stuff. It was bad. At the end of the last book, he shows up and finds that the Council of the Midlands and Aidendrill had sentenced Kaelin, the Mother Confessor, to death. And he just murks all of them at once with his wizard powers that only work when he's really pissed or really horny. And so this book just starts with him trying to find his men, he's the master of Dahara, but he doesn't want to embrace that role, but now he kind of has to. It's complicated, but not really, because nothing in these books is complicated. But basically what happens in Aidendrill is he tells everyone in the city, all these, dignitaries and, duchesses and all this shit that's hey, you have to surrender to me and Dahara, or we'll just fuck up your shit forever.
Yeah, he says, kind of in the same breath, he says, hey everyone, we need to protect ourselves from having a tyrannical soul rule under the Imperial Order, and we're gonna do that by all coming under my tyrannical rule as the Lord of Dahara. And it's just, he says, hey, don't let that other guy rule you, let me rule you, because it's definitely gonna be better. So he tries to get all of the countries of the Midlands to join Dahara, and that's a pretty big ask, considering no one knows who the fuck he is. Some
his own men don't know who he is. He has to do a bunch of magic tricks just to convince his own men to join him, which he uses the Mistwith cloak to like appear from invisibility, and the general just laughs at him.
Yeah, and like doesn't give a shit. That was
And,
kind of
I thought
funny.
that was great. I was like, I'm glad you undermined that stupid idea. I guess I was hoping that it wouldn't work out.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of glad. But yeah, so nobody knows who this dude is, and Dahara has kind of always been pretty antagonistic, I feel like. I mean, I know that the Midlands and Dahara and stuff were separated, right? But Dahara...
Yeah, until like 6 months ago.
Right, but Dahara and soldiers have done some damage, and they've kind of always had like an evil, maybe not purely evil reputation, but not a positive one. So marching in and saying, hey, you need to follow me instead of the Imperial Order. I mean, to anyone in the Midlands, the Imperial Order and Dahara look the same, right? Like, I don't really understand. Oh, yeah, it does not make sense that all these countries would agree to this.
Yeah, they're the main like problem in the whole like country, like up until Richard kills his dad, and like I said, that happened like 3 months ago. So
yeah,
to everyone else, they're like, yeah, so your dad was an evil wizard, and you're clearly a wizard. Why wouldn't we think you're also evil? And why are you telling us what to do? You're not even from here. And also, it doesn't make sense on a Richard level because Richard isn't even from the Midlands. He's right. He's spent as much time in the old world than he has in the middle. He was talking about it like, when I was born in my good old holler, we taught the good old values. It's like, you're not from here, dude. Like, your dad isn't from here. You're not from here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. He's from Heartland, right? Which
like,
is...
Well, I bang your queen. The main lady that you like? Yeah, that's my sex lady. That's the only leg he has to stand on. That's the only leg he has to stand on.
Well, yeah, and the other... Well, I'm confused about the timing as well, because... TJ, you were saying all of the events of the first, second, and third book happen in the span of, what, under a year?
Yeah, it's definitely like a year at most.
And that blows my mind, because I thought it was years, because I thought that Richard was at the Palace of the Prophets for a much longer, I guess? I mean,
it was like a couple months.
Yeah, he was insta-pimp in the space of like 2 months from what I remember.
Because he's the only old guy.
Yeah.
Wait, but if he was there for a couple of months, wouldn't years have passed outside?
No, it doesn't work like that. They live for like... Time passes the same regardless. They just don't age. So like Verna would have been 25 at 150 because she doesn't age. She still would have gone through 365 times 150 days. It's just,
right. I'm sorry, that was stupid. I don't know why I got confused about that. I have not been.
Paris,
confused
how
about
could
that
you be
this whole
confused
time.
about the very well thought out magic rules in this series?
Yeah, you probably have issues because you keep trying to like ascribe more complicated things. It's like, no, it's additive and subtractive magic. Like that's as complicated as like you the pluses or the minuses. That's it. There's only two kinds. It's usually simple.
So sorry. Anyway, I'm still blown away by the fact that all of this has happened in under the span of a year. And that brings me to another point about this whole Richard trying to forcibly unite. I'm not even going to say unite. I'm going to say invade and claim the Midlands for Dahara. I mean, I can tell that he thinks he's doing a good thing by uniting the Midlands, but I can't imagine that's how any of these countries would actually feel. And also, why does he think that it's a good idea to ask for this and then immediately tell them all about his tax scheme?
Oh yeah, here we go. Some more brilliant political maneuvering from Richard.
So, welcome to another edition of Paris Gets Really Hung Up on a Detail. Yay! Today, we're talking about taxes. Yeah,
My
taxes.
eyes glazed over for this entire section, so I won't have anything to contribute.
Okay, it's okay. It's pretty quick. So I just have a few bullet points. Richard says everyone that joins him in this united Midlands under Dahara thing, basically he says they're kind of giving up the Midlands and becoming Dahara. He says, all right, everyone who joins Dahara will pay the same tax He doesn't define it further, so I just hope that he at least means the same percentage of their GDP and not literally the same amount, but we don't know.
No, he definitely means flat tax. He means the same amount, Paris.
No. I mean, a flat tax is a percentage.
Amount,
a flat tax is a percentage.
Flat tax is a percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, some countries argue for a flat tax due to its simplicity and its perceived overall fairness. However, a flat tax often can't raise as much in-state revenue as a progressive tax system with brackets, like the U.S. has. Weirdly, flat taxes can also be considered unfair because even if you're taxing two people at the same rate, say 10%, a higher earner will still have more buying power with their leftover funds. So taxes are hard. I'm not an economist or a politician. This is just a very quick rundown. Kind of hard to wrap your head around. Anyway, I don't know where Richard got this idea from, as he's been running around fighting and murdering for months. He hasn't been studying economics or politics. Where did this whole tax thing come from? Why are they talking about it? And wouldn't it be better for him to have simply asked them to join Dahara instead of, like, also bringing up taxes? Sort out the tax shit later.
Yeah,
That first ask of taking over their whole fucking country is kind of big, right? Like, maybe wait till later. Maybe sort out the taxes another time.
Like, why is he even bringing this up? Like, your next sentence is, and if you don't, we'll come fuck your shit up. That's the part people are going to focus on, so why not just stick with that one? Like, tax code could come later.
Yeah, it just seemed like such a strange thing to... And again, it's so unrealistic. I just don't get it.
Because Richard is correct, so therefore this is the most correct way to govern. Did you mention the detail where the flat tax is only for military spending? The most just use.
I didn't see that. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I thought
that is the central point. Like Richard sits up on that, like in the council room where he's saying this to all the other countries, and he says, "I have the most fair system possible, and that fair system is a flat tax rate where the taxes only go towards the military for defense of the whole entire empire." We can say here.
I don't remember that shit. Okay, I guess I must have fucked this up. Sorry, everyone. That's actually worse.
It is, because then you're thinking, like, what if there's a famine, Richard? What if, like, there's so many other things we could use a centralized resource pool for besides just swords?
Would be nice to have some roads, right?
Well, know what is the solution to everything? How about you have your grandpa make coins out of wooden coins? Like, he can do that. He can make wooden coins into gold. So, like, why don't we just have him do that?
Wait, what?
So, TJ, Zed's the Fed is what you're saying?
Yeah, fuck it. Who cares? This is stupid as shit anyway. Like,
Zed's the Fed, baby. Zed's the Fed.
When you're genius and your magic works for you automatically, like Richard's does, like, I can see why you would jump to this and think it would work.
Because Richard he always instantly has the problem solved, so therefore he must have the most just tax scheme. And this is probably honestly what Terry Goodkind thinks is the way that is the most just, for sure.
Oh, Terry Goodkind, there's no way Terry Goodkind hasn't ever said the phrase, I'm socially liberal but fiscally conservative. That has definitely come out of his mouth plenty of times.
Well, yeah, so luckily that's kind of where the section about taxes ends. Anyway, obviously,
this is super random. Sorry. I was realizing with, Richard basically taking over the world or trying to, it reminded me of the fact that all the High Daharan and Daharan words are very clearly like German seeming.
Yeah, like shitty German.
So it's like Richard's basically like, hey guys, I'm the good Hitler. Like,
oof.
It really comes off like that, though, because he's like, I have the solution for everything. I am the right way and the truth, and you all need to follow me under threat of being crushed by my army, which...
his whole country is blonde hair and blue-eyed, but he's not. I mean...
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that. Fuck.
It's pretty clear. Like...
Well, in the audiobooks, they speak in Russian accents. I'm like, what are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
That's so weird. That's
most
weird.
of Richard's like political maneuvering in this book is just trying to get everyone to submit to him entirely. There's some magic trickery that he does here and there, but the rest of Richard's story is basically fucking around in the Wizard's Keep.
Yeah, and then there's I'm trying to think of other things. So he still has a contingent of 3 Mordsith guards, Kara, Berdine, and Reyna. And they're kind of just... I mean,
you forgot
Chris,
Holly again, Paris.
Yeah.
She dies pretty early. She doesn't matter. There's only the 3.
That's how he gets his army on his side. He like goes in, does his magic trick. That doesn't work. And then he kills a bunch of Mryswith in a battle.
And they're like, that was
cool.
Like,
that was cool. We'll follow you. But like Holly, it was the red shirt who dies. And he holds a big funeral for her, and all the Daharans have to do a devotion to Richard, which is very important for later.
Yeah, we'll get to that whole discussion. That's a whole 20 minutes right there.
Oh, God. It's so simple, guys. Come on.
Oh, God. But so the Mordsith...
It's a very simple content.
So the Mordsith are the red leather-clad torture warrior babes, basically, who were the personal royal guard of the previous Lord Rahl, Richard's evil dad. But the new Rahl always inherits them. So Richard has this, sexy army at his disposal. And he has these 3 main ones, Kara, Reyna, and Berdine, who are his personal protectors. And Chris, you have a note about this, so I'm going to let you do that.
Well, it's just the obvious thing when you have a bunch of women in red leather who are BDSM practitioners. Of course, everything about them has to be constantly horny and flirty. Yep. The Mordsith trio here are never not winking and smiling at Richard and trying to act like they want to be with him intimately, despite the fact that 2 of them are lesbians together, and there's this whole scene where Richard has to sit down with Berdine because she's like, I'm afraid to tell you something. This is after he saves her from nipple-based mind control, which we'll also get to later. So that was a whole scene. Okay, no, actually, let's get to it now. Berdine is under nipple mind control, which Tobias Brogan...
Yeah, you have to go to the previous woman's nipple mind. Can I go back to like...
Can we... Wait. Can we just stick...
Let's talk about all the horny right now. Actually, here's the horny part of the podcast, everyone.
No, well, let's focus on the Mordsith, and then we can explain the nipple mind control. How about that? Let's just keep some structure here.
Okay, I'll try my best here.
Yeah, you explained them pretty well. They're horny leather babes who torture people.
Oh no, I meant letting Chris talk about his point about the Mordsith.
Well, that happens so much further. Sorry, mine are chronological. So.
My only point here is that they're literally there to titillate for no reason, even when it makes no sense for their characters to have to do that. I guess Berdine brings up, well, under Dark and Rahl, he took me to his bed whenever he pleased anyway, so I had to be flirty all the time, kind of, so I can't turn it off. And then when she reveals to Richard that she's in love with Reyna, he has to sit her down and have this, like, gross... fucking chat with her.
Walking through the keep. They're not sitting down. This is where they're running through like incredibly dangerous traps that.
Oh yeah,
what a time! What a time to have that conversation, right?
He has to be like, Berdine, I think it's gross, but it doesn't matter as long as because I still love you. It's this whole like love the sinner.
1996 as hell. It's like, see how nice he is. He's not spitting on the lesbian. Look at him.
Yeah, right. He just tells her she's evil and bad.
She just says like I don't. It's the worst phrasing even to me is saying it's just not right. He repeatedly says that phrase. It's like that's worse than saying like you're against God to me. It's just like at least you're using some dumb Bible stuff if you say that. It's like it's just not right. It's like okay, well fuck you too.
She continues to flirt with him even after Richard is like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about that thing. So, and I mean, there's, when Holly is delivering him the declaration that he is Lord Rahl now, she pulls it out of her boobs just because
they all get changed in front of him all the time.
Yeah, and so I guess now let's segue into the nipple mind control thing, because this is probably the most heinous example of this.
One last thing. They sit on his lap and put their arms around him and giggle, and then at the very end, Terry even throws in a scene where Kaylin, like flirts with them too and is like, I think her boobs would look good in my hands, or like something, because fucking Terry Goodkind.
Like I said, always had his pants half off during the entire writing of this thing.
Always
anyway,
titillation. Anyway,
I want to get to the central horny moments in this book. So, Tobias Brogan can mind control people by cutting off their nipples, and Lunetta, his sister, who's a magician or sorceress, does something with the nipple to have mind control over. Does it have to be a woman? He never clarified this, I think.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. Like, are there any boy nipples in that thing?
He has a collection of nips.
Yeah,
Tobias, he has a whole nip collection, which I'm assuming is people that he has control over. He gets this wife of some government official. He kills the government official, and that wife shows up and basically has these intense, horny scenes with Richard. I sent Paris a snippet of the dinner scene here.
Can we? We're going to read this.
I'm going to see if I can try to find it, but while I'm trying to find that...
I have quotes.
Essentially, Burdine is under similar nipple mind control, but Richard finds it out by having everyone show him their boobs. And then he heals Burdine's cut-off nipple?
Yeah, that
happens, like grabbing it and thinking real hard.
That's yes. The thing. His magic always works when he just needs it. So, like, after like multiple chapters of the Duchess of Kelton, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, the Duchess of Kelton. She's actually the royal one, so killing her dumb husband doesn't matter. So, like, she gets a spell put on her, like, by not Brogan, spoiler, by Lunetta, and, like, so she just goes to Richard, but he's like, I'll totally surrender, but can I just stand around your palace and stay here and be really horny for you? And Richard is under a spell, but doesn't realize it after, like, days and days. Like, he knows what magic feels like, right? Shouldn't he know what a glamour feels like? But no, he just sucks soup off her finger and shit.
Oh, fuck me.
I love how soft and slippery it feels on my tongue.
Yeah. What page does that start on? Because it's like, guys, all right, folks listening, we're talking like a 15-page horny dinner scene. It's absurdly long.
I have a picture of page 230, Paris, which I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs from here.
Okay, because, all right, I have, all right,
All right, so
Richard half comes from eating lamb.
Yeah.
That's
it's
the
another
best
food,
part. Actually.
Okay, I'm gonna read that part, I guess. Then.
Okay, so this is a dinner scene with this wife of the government person. I guess she's the actual royalty.
She's the Duchess.
Yeah,
she's the
okay.
lady. She's the ruler of Kelton at that point.
Sorry, it's a 10-page horny dinner. 12.
15. I'm like
12 page. 12
long
page.
enough to finish.
12. It's a 12-page horny dinner scene. That's pretty close. Anyway,
okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Here's just one segment of it. Her tongue stroked across her lips. Best I've ever had. Richard realized that his fingers were empty. He thought that he must have eaten the scoop of rice until he saw the white spot. I'm sorry, I'm already laughing at what I'm seeing later.
This is the second time Richard forgets that if he ate something, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, he forgot if he swallowed in an earlier chapter. It's like, you're bad at food, man.
He thought he must have eaten the scoop of rice until he saw the white splat on the tray under him. She plucked an egg from the bowl, pressed her red lips around it, and bit it in half. Luscious. She placed the round end of the other half to his lips. Here, try it. Its silken surface had a mildly spicy tang against his tongue, and a flexible, resilient feel. She pushed it all the way in with one finger. It was chew or choke. He chewed. Her gaze left his to roam the tray. What have we here? Oh, Richard, don't tell me it's... She swirled her first and second fingers around the bowl with the pears. She sucked the thick white sauce off her first finger. Some of the coating of the other dribbled down her hand to her wrist. Oh, yes. Oh, Richard, this is fabulous. Here. She put her second finger up to his lips. Before he realized it, she had the whole length in his mouth. Suck it clean, she insisted. Isn't that the best you've ever had? Richard nodded, trying to catch his breath after she drew her finger out. She tilted her wrist. Oh, please, lick it off before it gets on my dress. He took her hand up in his and put it to his mouth. The taste of her galvanized him. His lips on her flesh made his heart pound painfully. She let out a throaty laugh. That tickles. Your tongue is rough. He let her hand go, rousing from the intimate connection. Sorry, he whispered. And I'll just stop there, honestly, because I can't stand it.
Oh, man. Yeah, this whole scene is just unforgivable. I mean...
Has the word galvanizing ever been used in a sex scene before?
Maybe in some very specific metalworking pornos.
Yeah, it's like, what? Okay, you ran out of words there, Tara.
Yeah, maybe in like some machine shop settings. I don't know.
That's straight up pornography, right? That's just straight up a porn segment there where we're having. But
like a 15-year-old would write. I kept coming across that in this book. It was like, this is like I would write this when I was first reading these books. Like,
well, my note on that was, well, I think we can solidly say that Terry has wrested the gross fantasy feast descriptions trophy from George R.R. Martin with this one. Like, he ripped it right out of George's greasy, dripping hands.
I mean, yeah, George was all about the food itself being kind of
he's horny
dripping.
for the food.
Yeah.
Which I would argue is better than this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I like Terry's stuff where he's horny for violence. That's my. This is not my speed either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so during this whole thing with Catherine.
What a normie ass name for this world.
Yeah, during the whole Catherine thing.
Yeah.
During the whole Catherine thing, I was, Chris and I had an argument about whether or not she was glamored, and I was like, well, I hope so, because Richard's acting awfully single for a man betrothed.
Yeah. I thought they make it obvious by Lunetta casting a spell, but they don't say glamour.
Yeah, my issue here is the definition of what a glamour is. To me, I understood a glamour to be a physical appearance change, not like a magical pull of horniness.
I think it can be both, is what the text kind of alluded to.
I've seen both in other fantasy, too, so...
I have always taken a glamour to be like it's magical makeup and good lighting. So
well, that is what Lunetta is doing.
Yeah,
like we find out later that she casts a glamour on herself at all times to make her not fuckable.
Yeah, she's reverse glamored, anti-glamored.
That was my quibble with glamour, but it's definitely happening here. I would say I didn't know if when you said glamour, you were talking about a physical appearance change, but you're talking about the horny pull that Richard feels at all times around Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, and he just can't stop describing her lips and breasts and hair and everything all the time. It's very frustrating. And I was just saying, yeah, I hope he's glamored, because otherwise, what the fuck? Because he's always been about Kaylin.
But he gets that hall pass later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. So I was like, I really hope this is a glamour and it's not. Yeah, it's anyway.
So after a while, she just tries to fucking stab him.
Yeah, it's like this isn't working.
Secret plan. I always thought I couldn't remember because I'd read it before. Like I couldn't remember exactly what Brogan's plan was. Every time I read it, I forget that it's as stupid and simple as get him real horny and then you stab him. Like it's not Brogan coming in the room or somebody stronger who's not going to immediately be murdered by Richard. No, it's just like just get him horny and then knife him.
Oh, but then Chris, do you want to talk about how Richard breaks this horny spell?
Because he's more horny for Kaylin. That's
you see.
That's what a good man is.
That's really all it comes down to. Is he's like, oh, this girl makes me so horny, but there's this other woman that I was into. Oh yeah, but she's makes me hornier, so I'm gonna kill this one. That's the only way he breaks the spell is by out hornying the horny spell, essentially.
Yeah, and that to me is just really stupid.
It's reused again later in the book when one of the Sisters of the Dark tries to mind control him later. His horniness for Kaylin destroys that also type of mind control.
I think it's supposed to be like true love conquers all, but that's also I'm not into it.
Spoiler alert, there's a later, like, books and books into the future, Kaylin has amnesia for, like, multiple books, and, like, he cures it by fucking her. Like, so, like, these are the books that you're reading.
Wait, is the Sword of Truth really just Richard's dick? Like, is that just...
No, it's the man with the magic penis.
Yeah.
Because in the first book, he defeats both Den. He beats Denna with his magic dick, and then beats the Confessor's power with it too. It's like
that's true.
I mean, he becomes God at the end of the series as well. So it's like,
oh my god!
Yeah, it's like,
series sucks.
I tap out at like 7. I can't go any. He defeats communism by carving a statue in book 6.
Oh, sick. Okay.
We'll get there eventually, everyone.
Build a God workshop, new in the Midlands.
Yo. All right, yeah. So this was all birthed from the Mord Sis discussion here. Was there any other horny moments here that we should talk about?
There's so many.
I guess how about
stab him?
So can we talk about how? Oh, sorry, TJ, you were saying.
No, it's just like after she tries to stab him, then he like. For some reason, he like gropes her while she's a dead body, and then notices the lack of nipple. Like, and that's how he like, as if that wasn't like it's bad when he has the Mord Sith come in and take their tops down, but it's worse to me. The reason he found out is just like groping a dead body for like clues.
Yeah, I
don't know what.
I couldn't understand why it was like, or was no. I think it's because her top was ripped in the fight.
And he noticed it.
And he noticed it, but it did seem odd.
He still groped a dead body to make sure.
He did touch it. He did touch it.
He did.
He touched the
corpse.
Oh,
no, wait. I remember why it was weird. So it's nighttime. There are no lights on in the room, just the light from the moon outside. And after, in the struggle with Catherine as she's trying to stab him, her dress gets ripped open, and so one of her breasts is exposed. And she has a makeup nipple, like a fake one on there, and somehow he notices that it's not casting a shadow in the dark after a woman just tried to murder him, and his focus is, yo, that nip's not casting a shadow. I gotta investigate. What?
And this man has had sex with 2 women.
Yeah,
like, he's not well versed on like nipples and shadows. I don't know.
Yeah, like he went to fuck school. I'm sure he saw a lot of nipples there, but he
didn't. He turned them all down like a good man.
Yeah.
No, but he saw them before he turned them down, right?
I think one person.
I don't know if that's how you proposition, like, are you sure? Check out these titties.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tits seem to be pretty motivating to some people. I don't know. But anyway, I found it really odd, that whole sequence of him being like, that nipple's not casting a shadow in the dark after someone just tried to murder me. Better check that other nipple. And then he wipes it away, realizes it's not there, and then just automatically knows, oh, this is evil magic. How would you make that connection? Maybe she had cancer. Fuck, I don't know.
He didn't know the evil magic the whole time. She was using it to make him horny, but now he can figure it out. It's how his gift works.
It just makes no sense that he would be like, a missing nipple. This is definitely how she's being mind controlled. That has never, not once, been established as a method of mind control in this series. Not even anything like it, as far as I remember. It just doesn't.
Wait, this woman has no pussy hair. Something evil is afoot.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like, I mean, there could be any number of reasons why a woman is missing a nipple. Sure, it's odd, and I might.
Thing.
Yeah, it's like, sure, it's odd, and I might investigate it, but I wouldn't immediately know exactly what it is. Like, it makes no sense.
Here's the perfect chance to go off into the big issue here, which is Richard's magic ability to know everything perfectly.
Yeah.
So, remember when we talked about him going through the Wizard's Keep and having that it's okay if you're gay, but not really discussion with Berdine?
Which happens in, like, 40 chapters, but
yeah. Richard decides to go into the Wizard's Keep because it's there and he might as well go in there, even though everyone's like, no, it's super trapped, guy. There's stuff in there that'll kill you instantly. Richard is just, he's pretty confident that he can get through it. And I mean, spoilers, he's right. He does just get through it. But that's the whole point. He goes into the Wizard's Keep, and at one point they're down in a library where there's different colored tiles on the floor, and Richard goes, oh, you need to step on these exact tiles. And they're the exact right tiles to avoid some kind of death magic that was there in the first place. It's like Richard is getting past notes from the DM in this fucked up D&D campaign because he's the favorite player. Why does he know the Wizard Keep tile puzzle instantly? He doesn't earn anything like that in the book at all. He just automatically knows this shit, and it's so frustrating.
And what is kind of extra frustrating, I mean, I don't care because only the first book in this series is even kind of good, but they do that with the Sword of Truth itself, where he's like getting messages from the other people who have had the sword. So when he's like a super extra good fighter, even though he was just a woods guide, that part is explained. It's like he's getting messages, literally, like you said, from the sword. And he could have just written something similar in about his gift, like it helps you communicate with wizards of old. But no, they never do. It's just like, nah, he's a war wizard, and that means you just automatically know all the stuff. It's just like, you could have justified it in a bad way, at least.
Well, I kind of think it's all lazy. Even if, sorry, not to belittle your point, I think that would have been better.
It is all lazy.
I just think that it would have been. It's
I'm just like, do something.
Yeah, it's just so.
I'm agreeing with Chris. I'm like, do something, man.
It's not, similarly to how we were talking about how the villains are not compelling, our protagonists are also not very compelling, or at least our main one, because, everything is solved for him all the time. He doesn't have to work for anything, really. He just senses the right thing all the time. There's never really any problem, ever. And I just don't see how that makes a character likable and interesting.
Well, that's kind of why the book where he defeats communism with a statue is actually kind of the best one before it becomes unreadable, because in that one he's taken away from Kaylin. Kaylin is like afflicted with a curse where if he does anything, like bad shit will happen to her, so he agrees. So basically he's powerless for an entire book and actually has to work for things and like figure shit out, and that's the last decent book in the series is the one time they make him do that. And then it just becomes he's like spouting Ayn Randy and shit for another 10 books, and then it ends with him being God.
Yeah, I just don't find characters like that super interesting. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm sure for some people, having this perfect ideal that they think they'd want to be is cool, but I hope people are, I don't know,
magic penis.
Smarter than that to just want things to be super easy for them all the time.
It undercuts all the conflicts in the book. Like even the Catherine thing that we were mentioning, I thought this was going to be a long drawn out thing where he's consistently going back and forth with Catherine trying to figure out who's the I think he does know there's a spy somewhere amongst his castle or something, because he's setting up the Mordsith to watch out for certain things, and he's cognizant of the fact that there might be some people working for the Imperial Order or the Blood of the Fold or something amongst him. But no, she does the horny dinner and tries to stab him a couple chapters later, and that's the end of that conflict. And this happens so many times throughout the book with so many different things that you just know that something's going to be... Even the Wizard's Keep, they go in there and you think, oh, maybe he trips up and almost dies his first time in, and he has to figure out how to get past this one barrier, but he just consistently crosses all the barriers possible with blind luck / just blundering through it.
Yeah, so there's no real danger for any main character.
Nothing is earned, ever.
No.
Even stuff that's set up because later... So he dispatches Gratch to go find Kaylin. Originally, he was supposed to meet up with Kaylin later. They got separated. Here's another bullshit magic thing. The fucking death spell. Right, okay. So here's...
the death spell makes perfect sense, and I don't know how you could be confused by it.
Okay, so there's the... Zed cast...
Really?
Zed cast a death spell to fake Kaylin's death so that everyone believes Kaylin is dead. Kaylin Amnell. Does that extends not to the Mother Confessor? People still think there is a Mother Confessor out there somewhere, even if they can't remember her name because of the death spell.
Well, they know she's dead, actually. They know the Mother Confessor is dead because they saw her executed. They just don't remember that the name was specifically her.
Right.
Okay. So no one remembers Kaylin, and the way the death spell works is she's erased it's a blind spot in people's memory that they can't seem to pierce. Except for Tobias Brogan, who can figure it out.
Why does Tobias know that Colin is the Mother Confessor?
He interrogated all those people. The one, Mr. Sanderholt, she truthful to a point, and Lunetta was doing her magic to find out she's telling the truth. Lunetta was like, she was telling the truth except for this. The mother confessor, be not dead, with their weird accent. And then per what Zed says, when Kaylin's talking about this to Zed, saying, take off the curse, it feels like icy fingers of death all the time. Zed's like, no, we can't do it right now, and I'm not going to do it. And the only other way is if someone with the gift figures it out and names like your proper name, which Brogan does because Lunetta helped him find out the truth, and because we don't know it till way later after he names her, but Brogan does have the gift. That confused me at first too. I thought that was your point of confusion, but then we learn later that he's a wizard, so he named her like Zed said, and then the spell was broken.
Is the point there is Tobias can even remember her name because he is a wizard?
No, he figures out that Mr. Sanderholt was lying, even though she doesn't actually use the person's name. And then he just kind of puts two and two together because he asks Richards, what's your wife's name going to be? And he just puts that together pretty much.
Yeah, because I didn't think anyone actually confessed or that Lunetta figured out that it was Kaylin.
No, she just she was like, hey, this bitch right here is lying. Mother confessor's still alive. Pretty much is like what Lunetta told him. I mean, like, because I don't know how Mr. Sanderholt knows that. Oh, it's because Richard told her. Fucking idiot. None of that would have happened if Richard wasn't like, Mr. Sanderholt, I fucked Kaylin in a place between worlds. Isn't that swell?
Right. Yeah,
if he would have just kept his stupid mouth shut, none of that would have happened. The spell would have been impossible to break. So it's Richard's fault.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. But can I make another point about how fucking dumb that spell is?
Oh yeah, it's dumb, but it makes sense.
Why would the spell break if someone else with the gift found out? Why would that destroy the spell? I don't get it.
I mean, I think because a lot of these spells seem to have like a particular like wiggly thing that if you poke it, it sets it off. And I think that was the wiggly pokey thing in this particular spell.
Yeah, but why? I don't
because you
it.
need a way to
creative.
Yeah, that's why, Ferris. That's why. It's because Terry's a bad writer. Is why.
I'll explain it like a nerd, but I know it's bad.
Okay, well, riddle me this, TJicus. How does Brogan? How is he able to see the Mryswith?
They reveal themselves to him because basically for the whole book, he's talking about how he's getting visions from the creator, and because the audience reading it isn't fucking stupid, they know that that's actually Jagang is the Dreamwalker, because obviously the creator isn't like gonna do that. Like, we never even see the Keeper in these books, so I'm kind of convinced that neither of those things actually exist, but that's a theological argument for another day.
yeah.
But he just that's it.
Okay. That's the one. There's a secondary stupid magic thing in here.
Oh, there's so many.
Right? So, but once again, just a conflict that is solved by just because there's one rule that Terry had to make up to make the spell be broken. Similarly, do you remember us earlier in this episode speaking about the oath that people have to make to Richard as Master of Dahara? This is apparently a magical spell that binds people to him in protection. You see, we talked about Jagang as well. Jagang can go into people's dreams. I don't know if that's just everyone around the world or if there's a radius that he can affect. But the only people he definitely can't affect are people that have sworn loyalty to Aral or the Master of Dahara. I wasn't quite sure which one was the exact thing that had to be declared, because there's a genetic protection spell that gets passed from one Master of Dahara or one Ral down to the next. And if you swear loyalty to Aral, you're not affected by Dreamwalkers.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know if it has to be the Master of Dahara, for one. That's one thing I'll admit. I don't know how, because Dark and Rawl has bastards. There's multiple bastard characters that show up later in the series. They're all tedious and awful, like most of these characters. But
all right. So that's the mechanics of the protection spell that, again, I'm not sure if Jagang can control literally anyone else in the world. Is there any
gift?
Yeah, okay.
It's like he can fuck with people who don't have the gift, like General Rybish tells Richard after that he does the devotion that he's like, hey, I was having bad dreams and now I'm not anymore. He says it as like yeah, you're just so swell, Rick. But it's like it's also indicating that. But it's mostly people with the gift people he can fuck with all over the world. And yeah so,
okay,
but
unless they've sworn loyalty to Richard.
Yes.
Now, you remember the Six Sisters of the Dark that were doing their naked ship cruise thing? They were visited by Jikang and they're terrified because they're under his control. And so they go to Richard, pretty much. I
just want to... There's the one chapter, I just don't want it to go unmentioned, where they go to Jagang's first because they think that they're so powerful that they're just going to kill him. Like,
welcome to Jigang! Because all of our girls are nude or in sheer cloth.
Yeah, and it's like, and I love this introduction of Jigang too, because like the way he describes them, he's like shaved head and like fur vest covered in jewelry. It's like an Armenian Steven Seagal movie villain. He's the.
Or something from Conan.
Yeah, he's the villain for like the rest of the series, and he's just like he's described as like a guy who would be a bouncer at a club. Like,
yeah. Oh, and he's also comically and stupidly rapey and evil. And
I heard Mark Hamill's Joker voice when he spoke. I don't know why. That was just what I thought. Just like that low, gravelly, just like very creepy. Like when he's like getting real low with it. That's what I heard when Jigang.
Oh, I imagined him as what's the guy from is it Street Fighter? Mortal Kombat. Who's the guy? Goro?
Are you talking about the forearm guy?
Goro with four arms and the
yeah,
that's who I imagined him as.
What? He was like speaking full sentences.
Yeah, but just I don't know. That's just what worked in my mind. But anyway.
Okay, sure.
So the Jagong. All right. So fuck. We have to pick a topic here. Do we want to talk about?
It's the loyalty magic. Let's talk about
the loyalty magic. Okay. So the loyalty magic. Yeah, I think that like this whole genetic. So it's like decide, Terry. Is it genetic? Or is it you just say the oath? Because apparently it's you just say these 4 sentences and you're good. Like
yeah, it's not. It's
what?
It's genetic based on who you can be bonded to. It has to be a Rawl. Daharans feel the bond more strongly, but basically anyone can, they can like put their pledge into him without actually using the words. I think the words are creepy as fuck, and it vaguely tries to make sound like Richard thinks they're creepy, but that happens like once. But we learn with like Sister Simona when she gets cured of her madness by just pledging to Richard. She's just like, I pledge my life to him and all that jazz. So to me, it felt like when this is very Bible Belt specific, but like accepting Jesus into your heart.
Oh yeah, totally.
So
that's how you're saved. Yeah.
If you do that, you can either like repeat what the pastor is saying exactly, or if you have the wherewithal, you can make up your own thing, and nobody's going to fault you either way. And it's dumb and simplistic, like most of the mechanics here. But I just kept thinking about the fact that like, unlike accepting Jesus into your heart in this world, ours, accepting Richard into your heart in that world has actual practical benefit and use. Like you get a real thing out of it. The Dreamwalker won't enter your dreams anymore. So I'm like, it's better. I wish I went to that church.
Yeah, the Church of Rawl has some real life effects.
Like,
yeah, hey, it's pretty good. But I mean, yeah. So
I have a point here, Paris. TJ,
are you trying to say I don't have a point?
No, it's getting away from me, and I want to get to the thing that...
Okay, go ahead.
Because TJ brought up that Sister Simona was cured of her madness and freed from the Dreamwalker's influence by just saying some words without Richard even present.
Yeah.
Why do the Sisters of the Dark have to go to a meeting with Richard and tell him their plan to be freed from Jigang in order for the pledge to work for them? Why can't they just stay on their boat and go, I pledge loyalty to Richard? Oh shit, it worked. We're free.
Because they had to be specific to the dude. I know it's convoluted as shit. It's actually one of the most complicated things Terry has done as far as like any mechanics or any like they're basically telling him like yeah, he keeps saying, well, you're against me, so you can't actually be devoted to me. And I think a really great quote from Alicia that I actually put in here, it maybe doesn't like justify this entire situation, but the main reason they have to be in person is because they're being sneaky. They're like, we won't necessarily fuck with you directly, but you have to make sure, you have to promise not to fuck with us. So, when Richard argues back, I think it's a really great quote about Richard's whole arc in this book specifically, that she says to him, it's a matter of perception, Richard. It's power we want, the same as you, no matter the morals in which you wish to couch your ambitions. So she's just like, we see it the right way, the same way you see yourself taking over the goddamn world. Like, we see it differently than you. So that's how it works. I think it's just because they're being sneaky. They can't do it on the boat because it would break as soon as they did something naughty. But Richard is basically like, fine, you can be devoted to me and go be naughty, but I'm not happy about it.
But that just makes it stupider.
Yeah, it's very stupid. It's because he wants to get his lady, too. That's the only reason he does it. It's like, all right, but, you know what I want.
It doesn't make any sense. Like Chris said, it doesn't make any sense. So clearly you don't actually have to be in front of Richard to swear the oath. And it just seems, again, super lazy. And I don't buy it. I don't buy
it's
that.
Impressive to me that he was so lazy and so convoluted at the same time. It's an impressive piece of fiction.
That's how I feel about all the magic in these fucking books, man. Is it's just somehow so lazy but so convoluted at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, I just want this to be a Cinemax show where Richard just murders lots of people and there's no talking.
Oh, if only. But it's just such a simple solution. Why wouldn't just everyone do this? And then the Dreamwalker would have no power.
Well, that's what he tries to make happen, like the rest of the book series, because, yeah, he's trying to conquer the world for the rest of the series. So what you just said, why doesn't everyone? Good question. Richard goes out in the world and asks it repeatedly. The 5th book, he runs for mayor of a small town.
Wait, but he's the...
What?
What? He's the master of entire continent.
Yeah, he's not necessarily. He's just like the mayor of that town is basically running against him, so he in effect has to run for mayor. It's like the town is voting on whether they want to join Tahara, and so that's the actual thing. But it's funnier because to just say he's running for mayor because he's running against the mayor. So
okay,
that's what he is doing. He campaigns, he gives speeches.
Okay, that's incredibly dumb. But moving on. Or, sorry, not moving on. Going back to this point of this loyalty oath, I don't understand how it works, even if it's not sincere. Like we were just talking with the Sisters of the Dark. It doesn't. That to me is the biggest sin of this. Fine if you want to say, "Hey, I do what I want in my book," and they say these words and it works, but like even if you say them insincerely or like not knowing, because I feel like with the whole Jesus thing, like letting Jesus in your heart and saving you. You have to actually believe that right? Like,
yeah, there is. I know there is at some point someone who thought that they were bonded, and then it doesn't. Like Jiang still gets them because they weren't actually serious or something. But the way they explain it, like again, it's convoluted. But they're just basically like, "You're against Jiang, we're against Jiang. That's should be good enough for the bond, we think."
So anything against Jiang is for Richard. That's just so.
Once again, the binary shows.
Fuck this.
Yeah, binary for the win.
I mean, I honestly would have been so much happier if you had just stuck with the genetic thing, because at least that is sort of believable in a way. I mean, not
like only Daharans could swear loyalty.
Yeah, like people born of certain lineages in Dahara would be more inclined to follow him because there's some level like that kind of sort of I could sort of buy that.
He didn't invent it for that. Like Alric Rawl didn't invent the bond in order to do that. That's the thing. So a thing we haven't touched on yet is Berdine and Richard, after they go into the Wizard's Keep to fuck around, I don't know, and Richard is just homophobic to her. They find a book, and they'd start translating it, and like the big buildup in the last bit of the book is just them doing a fucking book report, and it's like,
well, they're translating. It's just harder than
it's
doing
just
a
like
book report.
I just saw there was 100 pages left, and that was the main driving thing that was happening was them translating that book. But one of the thing that book says, it's a journal from a guy like 3,000 years ago, and basically it's like Alric Rawl in our war against the Dreamwalkers, he's told us he has this bond that he thought up, but we don't believe him because Rawls only want to rule the world. But the truth is he like made it purely only because of the Dreamwalker. The fact that it's like Daharan specifically is just happenstance of him being the guy who invented that thing. But no one believes that. That's why it's only Daharans that do it, because all these Rawls are just pieces of shit for centuries or millennia.
Yeah. I just, again, and there's so many, this is like another problem in the series in that there's so many different forms of magic that don't all seem to kind of complement each other. Like they don't all work off the same principles.
Yeah, it's either completely binary or like Gars v Mriswith is just a complete binary, and additive versus subtractive. But it's just sometimes it's like, or it works this way. It's like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently, people died to forge a sword. All right.
Yeah, and then like there's also this point of with talking about the magic and the Dreamwalker and stuff. With it, Verna and Warren are talking about why the Dreamwalker is dangerous, and they basically are like, well, he can make dreams real. And then they kind of say it's like the same as Han, because Warren and Verna can technically make things real with their magic, right? Like Verna can, for example, in the text, she thinks about creating a fire and creates a light in her hand, a flame that she can then apply to a real candle. And it's like, wait, so why is his stuff different?
Jagang also can't make dreams real. Like, he can torture people with bad dreams while they're sleeping, but like he can't manifest it into reality. He absolutely does not have that power.
Well, no, they can. Well, no. He can do things to you in your dreams that manifest in reality. Like he can twist their nipples or whatever. Like that. I think that's talked about where he can torture them physically and it'll actually hurt them in real life.
That's true. I thought I meant like he can think of cake.
Oh no, I guess it's slightly different.
He exclusively uses it for nipple torture, which is a big theme in this book.
I forgot about that. It just all blended into one sadomasochistic scene.
I guess the other thing I didn't love is that he's supposed to be this big bad character, but we only have one scene with him and we don't learn anything. And it's not like, ooh, it's a tease. It's just like, it just feels lacking.
Yeah, he serves as a faceless villain for a lot of it, where it's just like the Imperial Order itself is supposed to be more of the bad guy, which is even more dull. But like they even do say, like, even if we kill Jagang, someone else will take up the mantle of the Order. That's like Richard's excuse for like, again, trying to take over the world.
Oh yeah, that's right. And Jagang's powers were also a result of wizards making magical weapon people, because wizards are the reason everything sucks in this world.
Can we, brief aside while we're talking about Jagang being sort of generic villain in the background, he's basically approaching the Palace of the Prophets the whole book to take over it so that he can live for a very long time and rule from that time bubble so that he rules for, forever as long as he's alive. I just want to bring up the small detail that I almost forgot about, which is that to announce the approach of the Emperor months in advance, he sends drummers that are drumming constantly for months.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Kind of saps away some of the when's he
eventually you're probably just gonna get used to it, right?
Yeah,
and then they stop when he's real close.
Yeah,
so just no element.
Really cutting off your own build up here.
Sneak to him.
It would be funnier to me if the whole time they started very slow, like you only had like one drum hit a day. And then as he got closer, it turned faster and faster until there was a little drum roll happening as he approached the city for the final. It's like,
you want to turn this into like a prog rock thing that takes months?
That would be cooler. I don't know. I think that's a better idea than just
they add instruments slowly.
Yeah. It's one giant polyrhythm across the whole continent.
It's the first Yes album.
See, now that would drive you nuts. A full polyrhythm across the.
Why won't they just do fours?
I can't find one. It's torture.
I can't find the beat. I'm going crazy. 1 2 1 2 3, John. 1 2 1 2 3.
Please, I'll do anything. I'll do anything not to count to 7 or 9, please.
How about 5?
No! Oh, thanks for getting that music nerd joke in there. That was good.
All right, but
I know
what else
just
happens in
enough
this
to
book,
help.
though, guys? Does anything else really happen?
Oh, there's plenty.
I got to start. But
I got stuff.
I got 52 more chapters.
Yeah, I was gonna
Let's
say
start
I've got
whittling it
6
down,
more
guys,
pages.
because we gotta start going.
You know what, Chris? Let's not impose any restrictions on this,
All right,
this
fine.
journey. So back to the comical evilness of Brogan, we find out, of course, there's incest with the evil people, because, of course, there is. You find out that Brogan fucks Lynetta and forces her to unglamour herself when they have sex, right?
No, that's the opposite.
What?
This is why Chris is understandably confused about the use of the word glamour, because he doesn't actually fuck her. It's implied heavily, obviously, but he's like tired and needing to go to bed and whatever, and Lunetta's like, "Do you want me to cast a glamour for you?" And I don't see any other way to interpret that other than, "Do you want me to put a spell on myself so you don't think about how you're fucking your sister?"
Yeah,
Which seems
that's
like
what
a thing
I
they
thought.
do regularly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course, the evil people, incest. Of course. Just hitting all the fantasy book evil hallmarks. And then back, just a little more detail on how men and women are treated. I feel like I have no idea what any of these men look like. Every woman's hair, lips, eyes, curves must be described at least once and sometimes more often. Honestly, Brogan may as well be a walking mustache holding a bag of nipples, and Rybish just a sentient facial scar, because that's all we find out about either of them. The only other physical descriptions we get are Gratch, who's male but a non-human creature, and Jagong. But anyway, those descriptions aren't focusing on how sexy they are or aren't. It's not like Jagong's, I don't know, dick was huge and it hung out of his loincloth,
Oh, you know what's funny about the way they describe Tobias, too? I made note of this. There's like 3 different times where Terry like vaguely describes him as short, like not the tallest man, can't see over most people in the crowd. And I was like, You're willing to intimately describe every detail of women's bodies, but you can't get yourself to just call a male character short. You just can't, like, no, that'd be height shaming. Like, Terry must be like 5'5".
Like the most he'll say is like, Nathan was a ruggedly handsome man. But I mean, I just feel like there's such a heavier emphasis on the specifics of a woman's appearance over men in this series, and it so
we
that's
never
annoying.
find out how big Richard's dick is. Like, never. I was waiting for it and waiting, and they never tell you.
Oh man, I guess there's more ageist bullshit for about how older women can't possibly be attractive. Let's see, page 272. I have a note that probably demonstrates what we were talking about earlier. Here we are. Ahem. Verna snorted a laugh. We're the same age, Phoebe. She wiped her palms at the hips of her green dress as Verna waited. Yes, but you've been away for more than 20 years. You've aged that much, just like those outside the palace. It will take me near to 300 years to age to where you are right now. Why, you look like a woman of almost 40.
No.
Verna sighed. Yes, well, a journey will do that to you. At least mine did. I don't ever want to go on a journey and get old. Does it hurt or something to so suddenly be old? Do you feel, I don't know, like you're not attractive and life is no longer sweet? I like it when men view me as desirable. I don't want to get old, like, it worries me. And anyway, basically, Verna gives this pep talk that's like, yo man, being old's actually kind of cool. I'm smarter now, and aging gives you an advantage in some ways, but, I don't know.
A lot meaner.
But
I just put, Phoebe asks Verna what's it like to be old and attractive, and Verna keeps having to stop from saying, I don't know, what's it like being a dumb bitch. That's just such a rude question. Like,
Yeah.
it's like they're supposed to be kind of smart. Like, good lord. Like,
Yeah,
in
I
that
know.
same chapter too, by the way, Verna is describing a person who's missing, a sister who's missing, Christabel, and the way Verna in her own head describes her missing friend is the creator had blessed her with gorgeous blonde hair and comely features.
Yeah, I don't really think, like, when my friend's missing, I'm like, oh man, God made her so hot. Too bad she's
Yeah.
missing. Like,
Where are those titties? Where are those titties?
Yeah.
oh, I gotta see those again. What a bummer. Yeah, like, that's not how anyone thinks about that stuff.
Oh, Chris, I just my one more note from that chapter was that they talk about Jala, the game.
Oh,
yeah.
the fucking
Which
sport!
isn't it basically just blitzball but obscenely violent?
Yeah,
What's
pretty
blitzball?
much.
It's just like almost from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know anything
It was
about
like
that.
a fun aside minigame fake sport that they made up for Final Fantasy X.
It's so similar. Like they start on a grid. It's just like weird. It's like that just struck me. It was very
Well, there's only so many games you can come up with balls and grids, right?
very true.
I mean, yeah, so like are bound to be kind of
I'm
similar.
throwing. I have a giant chalkboard with the sport ball grid ball that I have to erase now.
I have
Shit,
a
back to the
note.
drawing board.
Ball grid ball.
We call it bagriba. We replace all the ends of the words with hyphens because it makes it sound exotic. Because that's what they did for this. Jala is like a shortened I forget something. Anyway,
Okay,
it doesn't
so a
fucking
book
matter.
Where barely
Turns
anything
out.
happens. It's taking a very long time.
I have a note for page 292 that is, "Here come the nuns in black, wizard sex defenders,"
What is that even about?
sung to the tune of Men in Black.
What is that even?
I'll read the page and let you know.
Oh god, we're gonna be here forever.
Yeah, I have a note that says page 368. Finally, some fucking Zed.
Oh yeah.
368 pages in the paperback before Zed or Kaylin even show up. That's
It's
more than
about-
halfway through.
It's about just Verna getting her rage on and like figuring something out about the prophecy. I don't know. I guess I just had a moment there. Page 324. Tugging a horse's tongue seems like a great way to lose a finger or two. Why is there a page where they tug a horse's tongue? Why would you would never do that? Let me, it's when, not Addie, God, when Annalena and Nathan, who, surprise, are of course alive, even though they were burned on a pyre. It's like, anyway, no main characters die. Let me find the,
Oh, they start dying.
good. Oh, here we go. Anne stroked a gentle hand along Bella's sleek, powerful golden flanks. Bella danced with delight at her touch. Bella is a horse, FYI. The big mare hopefully stuck her tongue out. She liked nothing better than having someone tug on it. Have y'all ever met a horse that liked their tongue tugged? Because I sure haven't. That seems weird to me.
It's a really
I've
tiny
never met
detail
a
to get hung
horse.
up on in a sea of crap.
Yeah, this is a 600-page book. I skipped over the horse tongue parts.
Well, it just was so weird. I'm surprised that neither of you remember that, because that was fucking strange.
No, anything that like was with Anna and Nathan or Verna, I was just kind of like glossing over. Like, yeah, you do the stuff and the thing, and then nothing happens, and you fail ultimately. And,
But you just
okay,
meant-
cool, now
You just mentioned that
wait.
Zed shows up, and he also doesn't do anything in this book.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
nobody does
reason for
anything.
Zed to be here.
Oh yeah, sorry, TJ, you said that main characters do start dying, they lose their plot armor eventually in these books?
Yeah, I mean, the next book, Richard solves the bubonic plague while tracking a Jack the Ripper-style serial killer through Idendrill.
Okay.
And I think
Sure.
at least a Mord Sith dies. After he fails in his election for mayor, Kaylin is violently gang raped and beaten. So, like, she doesn't die, but you know, it's some plot. I mean, plot
I guess that had to happen eventually, right? With so many
Yeah,
threats
you
of it
gotta
happening.
fridge
she
eventually.
got sexually assaulted in the last book, right?
Not full. No, like there was an attempted one, but it never. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I really
I don't
need
think she
to
gets
make
raped in that
distinction.
book either. I think they just beat the shit out of her. And Richard, Richard literally just runs up right when they're about to. That's right.
Ugh, God.
So- But no, people do start dying because like it gets fucking like it sucks how tediously written it was. Like that it starts getting dark and like even more violent and more battles, like actual pitched battles with like Zed throwing fire at the Imperial Order and shit. But then there's just hundreds of pages of sexual violence in between, so just never really gets past that.
Okay, so I'm actually getting to an important point in my notes. So towards the end of the book, Richard is like, oh no, I have to get to Kaylin fast. How do I do that? She's several weeks away. Oh, good thing I found this like fast travel mechanism in the Wizard's Keep. And oh, what do you know? It's like at this point, I imagine as I'm reading the book, the camera pans and there's like a vignette around Terry Goodkind as he's working on his drafts for this novel. And you see him with his hand on his chin, looking up, thinking, and he goes, I need a fast travel mechanism. Oh, I know, it's a lady that you kind of fuck. That's it. Yeah, let's do that.
That's a bit of a stretch as I go through dozens of chapters of notes to get to where you are.
Yeah, we're skimming now,
skipped over basically the entire plot of the book to talk about the Sliff. But the Sliff is the Terminator from Terminator 2, only you jump inside of it and it transports you places.
And it's a pretty silvery, slippery lady.
I have to be fair to this is like one of the few times he isn't horny for a thing, and he isn't very horny for the Sliff. He
isn't, but why does it have to be a lady that you have to go inside of?
But it's not a lady, it's a thing. Like,
it's female.
You're gendering it for no reason.
What do you mean? I'm not gendering it for no reason. It's referred to as a woman.
Well, like, why would anyone care what gender it was unless they were trying to fuck it, is what I'm thinking.
No, but I'm saying the text was pretty clear that it was feminine in form.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like funny that you noticed that, because like to me I'm like, oh, he wasn't horny for the, because you can definitely fuck a thing of Quicksilver. Like he could have easily been very horny for this giant pile of soft goo.
That's true.
but he reined it in a slight bit because it's an inanimate object, I guess.
And also I'm not sure. I mean, I've been kind of crossing out my notes as we go, and the only thing I skipped was like, well, I was going to start talking about the Mryswith stuff, but apparently there's some other shit that you wanted to get to, so.
No, there's just, I was trying to figure out where the Sliff part happened. I just kept scrolling. Oh. But like, I mean, yeah, no, after they find out that the Duchess tried to kill him, just more dumb shit happens. Richard sends Gratch to Zed and Kaylin to tell him all the shit he fucked up, like, hey, I dissolved the entire country.
Oh, sorry, right,
babe. And then like their solution is like Zed spells himself to fly away with Gratch to help Richard not fuck things up. And this is around the same time as when Richard and Berdine go into the keep for no fucking reason, and Richard is weirdly homophobic to her. They have that's exactly right where you are. And then the next shit is we see Tobias fleeing the sister with fleeing Eidendrill to go find Kaylin because he knows about her now for the dumb convoluted reasons we already talked about.
Right.
And they meet up with the Mryswith, basically, who are just like, hey, we're on your side. We're actually with the creator. And even this moron is understandably like, these incredibly evil-looking lizard creatures are on our side.
Yeah, it seems a lot.
But I guess I'll just trust it, because Jagang keeps appearing in his dreams. So, like, I mean, I guess that makes sense. And then a few chapters later, we, know that, boom, there you go. They're captured by them. They put Rada-Hans around her neck, which is the collar that they use to control the wizard boys. Like, that stops all magic, apparently.
But then they fucked that up, too. So.
Yeah, with the very last, page of the book. That actually always pissed me off, too. But yeah. But the weirdest fucking thing around this time is that Anne and Nathan, apparently their whole plan was to put one of those collars on Zed. And it just makes no sense. And he's understandably pissed, but like...
No, they're following a prophecy.
Yeah,
because
there
was
prophecy, and none of the prophecies are the stupidest of a fucking just forest of stupidity in these books. Like, how many trees died to put this stupidity to paper? The prophecies and everything about it. Like, Jagang wants to go to the Palace of the Prophet so he can, like, use the secret codes to conquer the world. It's just like, you seem to be doing a pretty good job without that shit, bro. Maybe you could keep going, normie style.
Yeah, and plus the prophets need so much interpretation, or the prophecies, sorry.
And most of them are wrong. And
yeah.
It's stated explicitly. Most of these are bullshit.
Oh, actually, one of my notes was, like, earlier in the book when they were talking, when Verna and Warren have this conversation about all the numerical permutations of the possibilities. I was like, yo, someone needs to invent a fucking computer for these people. Like, we need a computer. Help.
Yeah, she says that, like, long phrase that, like, puts Warren in his place, like something like a bifurcated fork, and I'm like, it's just like a girl boss moment?
A bifurcated fork. It's like a fork that's forked, guys.
Shit.
No,
but,
like a pathway? Like a pathway in a forest?
I just really feel, they need some computers up in the Palace of the Prophets. But, sorry, I had one other stupid note. On page 392... this is when Zed and Kaylin finally get Richard's letter from Gratch that he sent with Gratch. And it starts off, it says, "My dearest queen," she read aloud. "I pray to the good spirits that this letter reaches your hands." Zed shot to his feet. "That's a message!" Kaylin frowned at him. "Well, of course it is. It's his letter." He waved his thin hand. No, I mean, he's telling us something. I know Richard. I know the way he thinks. He's telling us he fears that if someone were to get their hands on this letter, it might betray us. Or him. So he's warning us that he can't say everything he might like to. No, dude, that's just how you start a letter. "My dearest queen, I pray to the good spirits that this letter reaches your hands." Like, that's not code, my dude. That's just how you start a letter.
You mean just because he's not using her name?
Yeah, but... I mean... why would... But why... But he could use her name.
No, because then the death spell, someone might see it, and the death spell might be undone.
No,
they know that she's the queen of Galia, so...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Shit. So, yeah.
So I was like, that's just how you start a letter. That's not a code. I thought that was stupid. There's so much shit that can be cut in this fucking book.
I think Zed meant that he thought Richard was dumb enough to just write down Kaylin, and that's it. And, like, so the fact that he spent the extra effort to write out a proper greeting like that between nobility is the code?
He's pretending to be a politician, just like he's been pretending this whole time, because he's not. He used to live in the woods, like 6 months ago.
Yeah. I don't get it. Did Richard... Oh, yeah, I had a question that said, did Richard not know Marissa was evil? But then I didn't... I think I wrote that before I realized there was some magical shit going on with the cape and the Yabri. Can we talk about that? Because that's another thing I don't think makes any sense.
Yeah, I think there's only like a couple more little... I mean... other than Zed being kidnapped by Anna, who takes him to the Palace of the Prophets because she wants him to destroy it. And she's like, but I had to get you super pissed first.
To follow,
to follow the
prophecy, yeah.
And he's just like, and then Zed's like, well, no. And he's like, well, what about if Jagang's coming and using it? He's like, oh, yeah, sure, totally. But he can't even do it, so that was all completely pointless.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing. Like, that's why those are so... I remembered that. I'm like, Nathan and Anna chapters, I just skimmed through. I'm like, yeah, they do a bunch of stuff that's all for naught, like a lot of this, but, there you go. So, yeah, that's the only other thing I wanted to point out is how pointless all those chapters were.
All right, so we're basically back to Richard going into the Sliff to fast travel to get to Kaylin before Tobias gets to her. And
Tobias already has her.
Yeah, but
he doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that.
Right?
He's in the Sliff trying to get to her still because Gratch hasn't come back yet, so he doesn't know for sure. So a
messenger brings word that Kaylin has been captured by Brogan and taken south.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he goes to the Sliff and he ignores Berdine saying, take off the cape! Take off the cape! He's like, no, I like it. The Smith are my friends, is the exact quote.
Oh, Jesus.
And then,
even though Berdine is translating this old journal and obviously must have uncovered something and he just ignores her.
And, like, she's got, like, big old cans, too. Like, we already know this.
Yeah, we have
point.
to.
So
If
he's going to listen to anyone in the world of this book, like that,
it's going to be Berdine.
Have they described the size of Berdine's breast?
Yes.
Yeah, they do it later.
Really?
Like, because Caitlin's is like, yours are so much bigger than mine.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh god.
When she's like
Fuck
trolling
me.
her, and she like trolls Richard. He's like, you didn't know they were gay. He's like, no, I totally did. I'm smart. But
anyway.
so Richard goes to the Sliff's well. I just wanted to mention this, like, he like just throws a spirit bomb down the well. So, like he can all of a sudden summon magic again, and that's how he activates it.
Yeah, it's another thing that he can just know how to do and does because he's Richard and therefore he's correct. So he just thinks hard and throws the Goku Jesus spirit bomb down the well, and the Sliff is awake again because
But he can't bring the sword.
Yeah.
So he like slams it into the ground.
He fucking Excalibur's it.
I wrote Richard's sword in the stones.
Yeah.
I said, oh god, I forgot that he Excalibured the Sword of Truth.
That's a better verb. Yours is better.
He's so strong and such a good guy that he literally slams this sword into stone, solid stone.
And so horny for Kaylin.
Yeah.
So horny for Kaylin.
That's his last thought.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point we should say that the whole book, we know there's something up with the Mryswith and they clearly have their own agenda, but we never really know what it is. And then all of a sudden it comes to fruition right at the end
all at once. Just like boom.
Yeah,
boom, 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 boom.
So Richard goes through the Sliff, which again is that like Quicksilver feminine shaped fast travel weird shit that he finds in the Wizard's Keep. And he's wearing the cape. And when he comes out of the Sliff on the other side, which again, he didn't even know where it was going to bring him. Right? Like,
he knows it goes to Tanimura, but that's about it.
Yeah, like he wasn't sure exactly where he was going to pop out.
He knew it was near the palace, at least.
He comes out of it, and there's a bunch of Mryswith, and Marissa is there, one of the Sisters of the Dark, and he's just like, oh, hey, what's up? And she's like, sup, take this Yabri, and he's like, cool. And I was like, wait, does he not know that Marissa's evil? And the whole Yabri thing, I didn't understand quite why having the Yabri as a Pantera claw, apparently, as I learned early in this episode, I don't understand why him holding that weapon mind controls him.
I think it's more the cape. I think the cape is like the initial thing that's fucking with him.
But the cape hasn't bothered him up until now.
It's been bothering him the whole... That's why he has the thing on the back of his neck that he keeps itching. And then there's like the scene where I think Berdine gets a poultice for him. And she's like, I know it's going to be extra good because she put my period blood in it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I couldn't make that shit up. He's got like this like itchy thing on the back of his neck. It's told and explained later that like Mryswith are wizards who like traded something of their humanity and power or whatever to become invisible. And apparently, this is not explained, if you put on the cape and wear it too long or whatever, you'll start to turn into one. So like that's the initial hook in him, and then the knife makes it worse. But yeah, he goes from like basically normal to like stoned off that.
Yes. Okay, that's what I'm saying. There's no gradual change, so it didn't make any sense. I
He's
didn't
just
make
all
the
of a sudden
connection.
off that loud.
Yeah,
he comes out of the Sliff and he's like, "Whoa, dude, I'm tripping."
Yeah, and I don't understand if
No.
traveling in the. And the other thing that doesn't make any sense is like he can't bring the Sword of Truth through the Sliff, but he can wear the Mryswith cape.
I think. Well, the Sword of Truth is like very big dick as far as a magical object.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because it's the wrong kind of magic, right? It's because it's.
No, it's got additive and subtractive in it. They could have given themselves an easy out that way.
Well, then I don't know.
You two hash this shit out, and it's just...
But it seems like the Yabri, and again, I hate that name. It's such a stupid name for a fucking
like a sex
weapon.
Toy.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like you're like, Yabri, my boy, Yabri, you know.
To me, it sounds like
it
something
just...
I put in my butt.
Oh, it doesn't sound like a butt thing to me. It sounds like someone's stupid nickname in Southie. Like,
Well, I don't have the other one, Paris. I'd put it in there too if I could.
But I just don't understand. Like, why? It seems to me like the Yabris are the thing that really kind of make him...
It's the big
like
fat blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, like totally change his mind.
She's about to hand him 2, and that's like a cross joint.
Yeah.
It requires Marissa and Richard to light.
I just don't get
Does that
it.
make the Sliff like the hotbox car that you sit in to like...
Yeah. No, but Paris is like not wrong. This all comes to a head. Like I have chapter by chapter. It's like 5 chapters where this all just happens at once. Like he comes out of the Sliff and it's like, hey, here's the thing. The old queen is dying and the new one wants to go in the Sliff. And he's like, totally. So I'll break that shield right there, right? And it's like, yeah, exactly. I was like, what? Don't do that for the evil giant monster that's full of eggs.
Yeah,
like,
and also, didn't you love? I have a note that says, "Well, at least he didn't fuck the Mryswith queen." Phew.
Yeah, if they would have made it like humanoid, that would have been a danger.
Yeah, but why can he understand pheromone communication from the Mryswith queen? Do we have an answer for that?
I just wrote it communicates via smells and noises, so I don't really know.
Well, no, because it was like he smelled something and it knew exactly what it translated to in English. And then secondly, if Mryswith are just like they just get changed into lizard folk by wearing the capes, what is up with this giant queen that's hatching eggs?
Yeah, that was because if the explanation is the. I don't. Yeah.
Why?
I've got nothing. Like I got answers
like a
for so much of
wheel
this,
of
but...
dumb magic shit that you guys are just struggling to explain.
Yeah.
I haven't.
I got nothing for this. Why there's a damn queen? Like it's just like so the dudes turn into wizards and what they like shit out eggs eventually. I don't. And
the women turn into giant queen.
I think the thing was that like a bunch of eggs came out of the old queen and they said and one of them was a new queen. So it's like one of those like bee things where like eventually like it's much more rare to have a female, but there's no reason why they would go from wizards turned into a creature to like a thing that lays eggs. That's ridiculous. It's the stupidest thing in this whole book.
I don't know. I almost called you Terry. Oh no.
No, that's fine.
I don't know, Terry J. I
am embarrassing myself.
I've got some small other notes. There is the big fight between Lunetta, Brogan, and what is it? Does Kaelin murder them? I forget.
I actually have the order. Like I wrote the order because it's like hilarious thing. Like so, Kaelin and 80 like spring a trap on them that just involves whacking them over the head with a log. Like literally, they just smash both of them. Kaelin just goes whack, whack. I gotcha. Okay, all right. And then like, there's this really stupid section where Brogan's basically like the creator is actually the devil. I'm the creator now. It's like it sounds like a dumb anti-religion sketch from like the 90s. It's like this is what Christians are like. It's like okay, man. But then in a weird chain of events, like they find out Lunetta's actually pretty because they take off like her weird clothes and she's like they describe her as an attractive older woman. They had to put in the jab. They had to call her an older. They couldn't just say she's actually attractive. It's like an older woman. And then Tobias is furious that she looks decent. It's like you're not pretty. You're ugly. He's like, no, I'm sorry, bro. I just how I look. And then it's revealed that Brogan actually has the gift, and the reason that Lunetta's always touching her gift is basically to stop Tobias from doing anything with his.
And honestly, I did feel like that was a really good reveal. Like, I didn't suspect that shit at all. I was like, oh, fuck, the reverse glamour on Lunetta, and then Brogan having the gift. I was like, ooh, that's very Lindsey Graham. I really like that reveal.
Yeah, it's like the homophobe who's actually gay is like the anti-magic guy starts throwing lightning bolts at the professor.
Yeah,
and he's like, he keeps turning around like, Lunetta, that was you. It's like, nah, who smelt a delta?
Yeah. Well, no.
You're throwing it out of your own hands.
I gotta say, though, I was like, wow, I'm actually impressed with that reveal. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's a decent one.
I was like, damn, this was good.
Decent one. But so Brogan kills Lunetta, and then Galtero, his guy who likes rape more than consensual sex, he slits Lunetta's throat, and then Kaelin stabs him, and it's literally in the span of one paragraph that all that happens.
Right.
So then that's the end of that That took 49 whole chapters for them to dispatch that enemy, so that's rare for this book that usually takes like 2 or 3, so.
Yeah.
And very cartoonish, too, right? First you got the log hits, and then just everyone kind of, like, stabbing each other in a line until no one's left but
Lunetta
Kaelin.
is just like, boink, like sends a needle through his heart, and then immediately has her throat cut by Galtero, and then Kaelin puts him through with a sword. It's like,
Damn. We're done with the villains for this book, and with the book in general, because, I mean, all that happens is Richard goes back to Aidendrill. There's a Merizwith army attacking, and he feels like he's going to be overwhelmed when he's in his, like, rage horniness with the Sword of Truth.
Oh, wait, hey, I have one
Zed.
last
Yeah.
note.
Oh, yeah.
I have one. Oh, sorry, I have a note about the fight.
Yeah, because Zed tries to destroy the Palace of the Prophets, but can't. So he sets some sort of trap bomb or whatever, and then like Kaelin and Richard finally meet up, but he almost kills her. Like I wrote down, these two morons are made for each other.
Yes.
And then like, so Richard wants to go get a book from the vault so much that he risks both of their lives just to go get it. Like there's an Indiana Jones ass sequence where there's this light that keeps trying to kill them, and I felt extra stupid for not realizing that was Zed's spell. So like, so it's like, ironic, he said it, and then he sets it off. Palace and Prophets explodes. In between this is the stupid ass sisters thing where they swear devotion to Richard in a way that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And but Anne and Zed are like looking at the palace like, oh, word, it destroyed it. Cool. And then right before Richard and Kaelin are about to get in the sliff, this is when Kaelin gives Richard the hall pass, sort of. She's like, I forgive you for being with Marissa. You were alone and thought I was never coming back. He's like, nuh-uh. He's like, oh, well, never mind. It's like, imagine that guy's feelings. He's like, I could have fucked all those women and she would have been fine with it. Like, all of them? All right. But, you're talking about the fight between Marissa and Richard.
No, the fight between Lunetta and all them.
Oh,
there
sorry.
is a point where someone, I forget who says it, but someone yells at Lunetta, "Your name means Little Moon!" And I was like, why are we yelling this in this fight right now? What the fuck was the point of that?
I think it's 80 is from the same place as them. But I can't tell if it's 80 or Kaelin who yells it. But then they say after that, at 80, like Lunetta was crying and 80 was like talking to her in her native tongue to console her.
That's
and,
true.
I think that is a very stupid line.
I don't understand. Yeah, like it just seemed dumb.
Like, what if she was like, I know that. I'm not stupid. I know what my name means.
Yeah, and I don't know. And then also, if it's supposed to be some weird other language, why is it so like we can understand that Lunetta means Little Moon? Why it's not like it's in some, I mean, I guess unless they're like, oh, that foreign tongue is Italian. I just thought that was strange. Anyway, my other short notes are feeling pretty weird about Anne murking a pregnant lady.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's a pregnant sister who is kind of not guarding, but sort of just sitting at the entrance to the vault where all the prophecies are, and Anne is with Zed, and Anne just kills her, just stabs her. And they talk about it, and Anne is like, well, anyone who was loyal would have been gone by now. Therefore, I feel fine about this. And I was like,
but she also says why she shouldn't, because like she wasn't able to talk to Verna about whether, the loyal people actually did leave yet.
Yeah.
Because Zed is such a, I love Zed. Zed's my favorite character by a lot. And he was, the whole time that she had him under his control, he just fucks with her. Like he invented, he conjured up mites to go in their sleeping bags. And much less funny, he triggered her, journey book that she used to talk to Verna to, basically explode if she uses it again.
Yeah,
and that's why she has to kill the pregnant lady. So she, says to Zed, it's kind of your fault. And he's like, bags.
Yeah, and I just thought that was a really weird point that they sort of gloss over. They don't really talk about it in depth, and I was just surprised that Terry would have...
got spells to do. Come on.
Yeah.
Move it. Move it. Kill that pregnant lady. Throw her aside like a ragdoll.
I just thought it was an odd choice.
Why even have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's him trying to be nuanced, he didn't do a very good job of it.
And they kill a pregnant lady. How about that, fuckers?
So it just kind of stuck in my mind. Hey, I was really happy for Verna and Warren. Just gonna say that.
It made the earlier thing where they had conversations about when you weren't like looking like this, I thought I might want to get a little piece of that. Like, it makes that whole exchange earlier in the book like a
and
little
then
less creepy.
They finally are like, hey, I like you even though you're old or young, and you're like, cool.
But Warren actually says, like, I don't see any wrinkles. Like, if she's 40, there's a good chance she maybe has laugh
you, Warren.
lines.
Thanks, Warren.
Yeah,
I really like Warren.
It's like
he appreciates we older women.
It's like 40 isn't that? I mean, there's plenty of perfect. Like, does your skin sag? I'm like, it's 40. Like, come on.
I know. And then, hey, Terry, I don't need to be reminded 12 times what Fuergrisa Ostralka means.
Richard
it's
is such a fucking edgelord with this thing.
Yeah.
Also,
he's just showing up all the time going like, I am the killer of all, destroyer of worlds, bringer of death.
But, okay, but here's the thing. He every time it comes up, he's like, it means this. I'm like, yeah, I remember from last time. And also, it sounds dumb and you should feel bad about it. It's a stupid phrase.
Time, like, you said those words and then spent 2 more paragraphs describing how exactly he is that thing when it's clear from context. And these are also the same 2 paragraphs you've done like 3 times in this same book. Every time he goes and fucks shit up, which those are the only decent scenes. Like, whenever I would read when Richard's killing all the Mariswith and stuff, like, oh, this is how like 15-year-old me would write an action sequence. Like, but it's very edgelord. I was very much an edgelord at 15, so I'm just like,
oh yeah, whenever he's about to fight, he's like, I am death. It's like, okay, buddy.
You could see him like, oh, I wish this sword of truth was a katana instead. That would be so much cooler.
Yeah.
Well, he cuts his own arm half the time. He didn't in this book because he was already covered in blood, but that's usually his move, to like slice it across himself so it tastes the blood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he did do that at one point in this book. He was like, yeah, I need to feed it with some blood. And I was like, wow, kill me. I don't know. One of my major overall notes is I hate that all these strong women end up serving the good guy white male savior. The recitation on page 571 feels like a death knell. Because you have all these sisters who are these powerful, independent women. Yeah, but I'm saying that sucks. That the main protagonist in this book just takes everyone under his power, and everyone kind of loses their independence and agency. Fuck that. This sucks. I hate it.
I mean, yes, they are trying to, like, survive, and I mean, I the particular thing about him being white, I'm like, okay, let's hold on to it. Everyone in these books are white. You cannot be making racial distinctions about anyone because this is a world where black people do not exist. There's no brown people.
Yeah, but that in itself is a commentary, right? That the author just didn't even write them in.
From a fantasy book from 25 years ago where the guy has his pants around his ankles the whole time he's writing it, I give him a pass on the lack of racial nuance.
I mean, I know it's very predictable. It doesn't make it any more fun to read.
Well, there is one person who's mildly described as ethnic.
Really?
Yeah, I have the quote. It's Sister Philippa, who I just kept putting an IN in her name, so it's Sister Filipina. Because he describes her as exotic and high cheekbones.
Like, weird.
Over and every time he's like, is this him trying to, like, it's cool, man. We know everyone's white. You don't, like, gotta, all right, yeah, just keep, okay, exotic and high cheekbones. All right, it's kind of worse that you're not just, like, describing what the hell she is. Are you trying to say there's Asians in your world, Terry? That's a slippery slope. I don't know.
But I guess, I mean, I'll concede your point that, honestly, it doesn't matter if he was white or black or green. The good guy male savior, it still sucks that all these women who previously had independence and agency have to literally bow down and pledge allegiance to this guy.
All these women are explicitly sworn to serve an invisible god that may or may not exist. So I wouldn't say they have exactly a ton of agents. I understand your point completely, but I just like to nitpick about these characters who have just been spending literally hundreds of years, like, in a convent, like, serving men already. Like that's their whole job and has been for centuries. So
yeah, I guess that's true because they see the creator as male, right?
They damn well better.
Jesus.
In the world of the book. In the world of the book. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
no. I know.
I imagine a woman being like, "What if God's a woman?" Immediately thrown out in the street.
But I guess at least in there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have a point. Fuck me. Everything's
They have
terrible.
queens. They have lots. They have queens. Queens are a thing. So, like,
yeah, but if the only religion that they really have is basically this take on Christianity, then nothing matters.
Well, at least they get to see the devil sometimes. Like, at least they know that guy exists.
Yeah, that's true. We never see the creator.
Like, okay, that's real.
I don't know. I mean, I guess honestly, if anything, that just kind of proves me more right that like, yeah, everyone in this book is just
it's all
yes. Oh yes, male savior. Whether up in the heavens or here on earth, it's all this powerful male savior shit.
Whether in the earth below or the skies above or the deepest, darkest reaches of the sea, you better have a penis if you want to rule.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about a book series where the original bad guy ruler of Dahara was named Panis Rawl.
Oh my god, I just choked on coffee. Thank you.
So this isn't a series of subtlety. The two Rawls before Richard were Panis and Darken. Okay, it's not. There's no subtlety to the symbology.
Don't forget about the grandfather, Rapey.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the grandfather.
Rapey Rawl.
Yeah.
No, the grandfather wasn't. What was
No, of course not.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, sorry.
Although you believed it for a second in the world of
the Rapey Rawl. Like in the world where Darken is a name. Like,
yeah.
R-A-P-I. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but can I bring us back to the Sliff? I have more questions.
Yeah.
Didn't you wonder about how like the Marissa fight? Because that's where I am. Like,
okay, yeah.
Context.
So
like they're about to go in the Sliff, and Marissa's like, well, they go through the Sliff, Richard and Kaylin, and then Marissa comes in like after.
Yeah. So before Richard and Kaylin go in, my two questions are. Because at this point, Kaylin still has the Rada-Han, the collar on. I said, why would they not try to take her collar off before traveling? And two, why is she grabbing his ankle?
Yeah, I think like, he already pulled off Kaylin's collar before that. But
no, it's still on.
No, I have in chapter 50 when they first meet up with each other again. They make out for a second, and then he destroys the collar. And then they're good.
No, I mean, but she had it on when they traveled through the Sliff, right?
No.
What?
He destroyed it when they first like meet up with each other, and she's like, "Richard, how'd you do that?" Like she does every fucking time he does anything, and he's like, "It turned to powder in his hands or whatever the fuck."
Oh, I guess I somehow mixed that up in time. Okay.
Yeah, no, I made notes because like dumbass Kaylin runs off from Verna before she can take the collar off. It pissed me off so much that it made me somehow even more angry when Richard took it off like 5 pages later. Like I was just like, so what's an important? Whatever.
Okay, well, all right. I guess fuck me. I got that wrong. I just remember thinking, why does she still have the collar on when they go through it? Because it's a magical thing. Anyway, I don't know. I guess I was wrong.
I think the question. Did y'all have a question about how he kills Marissa?
I was like, why does stabbing the Sliff hurt Marissa? That's what I didn't understand.
Because for some inexplicable reason, Marissa is like standing in the Sliff this whole time, like a fucking boss battle with a stationary boss. And like instead of like stepping out of it, and we've already been like advised from the Sliff, like, hey, you can't bring that sword in here. If the sword goes in me, you'll die. So I think Richard just remembered that. And then there's this like misdirect of Richard saying his hand extended, his fingers touched it when Marissa's like handing him the second Yabri when he's about to go full on stoner and like do whatever. And then at the last second, he grabs the Sword of Truth instead. Because it says it's a need he knew well. And then he just shoves the Sword of Truth in the Sliff and she dies. That always confused me as a kid, too. I did the same thing I did years and years ago. Was I have to reread that section like a half dozen times before I was like, oh, yeah, because you can't put the thing in the Sliff. Okay, yeah. Okay.
But I guess,
okay.
yeah, I also was like, well, the only reason that makes sense is if she were standing in it, but I just didn't feel like they had ever established that, so...
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to reread, like, the last 2 pages to be like that it's very clear, while not being very clear, that she's standing in it. Like, she floated closer, offering the yabri to him. So, like, that was the phrase, like, soon as the other stuff. Like, I wrote in my notes because I figured that's what you guys were wondering about. Because, again, it's confused me for years. But she never reads the sliff.
But why be so coy about that?
I don't know. Why doesn't she just step out of the fucking sliff? Why is she standing in, like,
Well,
basically
and-
there's no power gained. Like,
right,
get
like,
out of
why-
the fucking water.
Why is she standing in it, and also, why would he be so... why would he not actually come out and say that? It just is a weird problem right at the end of the book.
Paris,
What?
Terry's a bad writer.
Yeah.
Okay,
His books
my
are
next...
bad.
I have over a decade of not understanding this same part. I don't know what to tell you.
Speaking of Terry is a bad writer with plots. I kind of want to talk about how Terry's a good writer in other ways, but when it comes to stories, bad. Deus Ex Machina. Can we talk about that at the end?
So after Marissa gets murked, they just go to the city of Idendrill, and Mriswith are just fucking the Daharans up bad. And Richard does his fourth Der Furious Das Kruke, or whatever the fuck speech, and then he kills a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then he thinks he's about to die, and Gratch to the rescue.
With his Garmy that he raised somehow. Gratch just shows up with all the other Gars that, I don't know, maybe he just told all of them, hey, I know this really cool guy. He lets me kill Mriswith all the time, and I bet I could help you guys kill Mriswith. Just follow me.
And that's exactly what he does. It says it's explicitly stated that, like, what he does. Like, yes, Gars have had relationships with wizards for thousands of years. It's like, okay.
Surprise! Yeah, because it's basically like, oh no, Richard's in this hopeless situation. How is he ever going to get out of it? Kaylin's here now fighting, even though she was supposed to hide, and they're all going to die, and then it's just like, you know,
JK.
the fucking Gratch army
just like every other
falls,
fucking conflict in this book.
falls from the heavens and saves them all. Yeah, it's just stupid. I don't know, and I basically was like, God, and that's the point in the book where we find out that Gars were created by wizards as a solution for Mriswith, and I was like, God, it's fucking Australia up in here. You're bringing in other weird animals to fight the first weird animal, and then you gotta bring in a third weird thing because the second weird thing got out of control in a different way. It's Australia in here. It is bad.
And now it's on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just ends with more useless titillation when
Berdine, like, jumps on him and dry humps him.
Yeah.
Like it's
She's
just like I sort of, like, I see why they're, like, playful and stuff. It kind of makes sense a little bit, like, just in generalities, but, like, that was just, like, weird because a lot of these books I didn't read expressly closely before, so that scene I, like, read very closely. Like, so she's straddling him and, like, she was dunking his head in a fountain. Like,
who
it's not your
straddles
little
their
sister.
friends? Who straddles their friends? No one.
And, like, pulls his shirt up being like, you smell. It's just like, this is weird.
It was very strange. And then there's that whole scene, where Colin's like, ugh, touch your breasts or whatever she fucking says.
Well, they try to taunt her by being like, Lord Rawl has seen all of our breasts. He's like, he's even touched mine. It's like, they fit great over my boobs.
Yeah.
And Kaylin's like, I think Raina's would fit better. And everyone's like, oh, this bitch is fun. We're going to keep her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real
end.
dumb. And it just plays into it plays into a lot of shitty stereotypes about what a cool girlfriend is. Oh, okay. Also, is it me or is it super gross that Kaylin wears Denna's Aegil? I know we haven't talked about Aegil's or Denna this entire time, but is that not weird? I wouldn't want to wear my boyfriend's ex-rape girlfriend's weapon that she tortured and raped him with.
Yeah, because that's like Richard's supposed to be the ultimate good guy, and like oh, Kaylin's the only one for him. Is like, nah, he got it really on with, like, that was why he has a magic penis in the first book, because it's not just Kaylin, like this torture magic lady whose whole purpose in life is to like sexually torture men. Like, his dick is so good that she'll just be like, I won't torture you this time. I just want the regular D this evening. And like that, and he kills her because of that. And then Kaylin wears her torture device around her neck. And we didn't talk about like the last book hardly at all, but a thing we did get caught up on, I remember, was Denna comes back from the underworld. Denna is the Mord Sith who tortured Richard, and like she tells Kaylin all the things she did to Richard to like make her understand for some reason I can't remember. But at a certain point, Kaylin just vomits.
Yes.
And I think I might have hypothesized that it must have been like she put it in his pee hole. But
that's what I thought too.
Yeah. But there's also another scene in this book where a different woman vomits from unspecified torture. Like they're talking about what the Sister of the Dark are doing to the crew of the Lady Sifa.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And like this was like I can't even tell you. They're so unspeakable. And I'm like, Terry just can't come up with anything good that would make someone throw up.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of relieved.
Yeah, I will say I didn't hope he comes up with that later, but
I don't just like why mention it. It's like I can't think of anything.
But anyway, like my main point is, why would your fiance wear the device that was used to rape you around her neck?
Because that's how she's extra cool girlfriend, like you said, because she understands that you kind of liked that.
Well, no, I think it's because Denna became good after she died and was a spirit and helped them have astral sex. But that is all also weird. Why is any of this? God seems so unhealthy. Jesus.
Okay. So
anyway.
That's pretty much the end of the book. The only thing that happens after that is Zed is hanging out in a bar eating beans, as he eats many beans throughout this book. I don't know if you guys remember
beans.
This wizard eating beans all the time. Zed's constantly eating beans, and he's doing it one last time at the very end of the book. And he's got that Rada-Han still beans on him, and then he just takes it off because I guess Rada-Hans don't work anyway. So what's the fucking point of anything, Terry? Fuck off.
Wait, so then what the question is, why did he keep it on that whole time? And because remember, he was doing magic even though he had the Rada-Han on, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
He's trying to see where it's going.
I mean, I guess, but that seems like a hell of a gamble. But also, why go along with that plan, pretending to not have any agency? I don't.
Better to be around to keep an eye on this crazy lady who's like trying to kidnap the first wizard and use him than to have her loosed into the world doing God knows what. I guess.
Yeah, but why do you have to pretend to? He was clearly using his powers around her, so I don't understand why you needed to keep the ruse up of having the Rada-Han on.
It was so funny when Anne was asking that herself. Like, I don't know how he does it. I'm like, do you think maybe you just don't have any power over him and he's fucking with you? Like,
well, and like Chris said, fuck this, because why would it not work on one person? And why is Richard able to just rip it off of Kaylin?
He has subtractive magic, and the person who put it on didn't. So he can do, because he has subtractive, he can fuck up a lot of shit.
Is that really why, though?
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of, I assume it follows the same rules as like all those shields in the keep that he can just walk through and no one else can't, just because like, it's like, yeah, that's how it works.
Oh my god, I forgot about the shields. That he can take someone else with him through the shields if he touches them.
I offhandedly
bone down in the basement.
Yeah, I offhandedly mentioned it before as one of the things that he can just pass through because he can think about it, which is once again the whole fucking problem with this series is that Richard just can solve conflicts without thinking about it, and it's unearned. And that's my final point for this whole fucking episode here, is that this series sucks specifically because of that, and almost purely because of that.
Oh, that's right. They also changed the name of the Jala game, and now it's named after Richard, because everything has to be about Richard all the fucking time. It's now like Jala Ral or something, right? I forget. But yeah, let's talk. All right, in summary, Chris, you've got a screed at the end here. Go ahead.
I kind of condensed it down to the point that I just made, honestly. But I will say the major problem with the series, again, it doesn't highlight the conflicts I want it to. It'll just cut them off a chapter later. The whole Catherine thing, like I said before, could have been much longer and more drawn out. or same thing with Burdine even being mind controlled. That wasn't even a problem for Richard. It was just instantly revealed.
That was so weird.
And solved within pages.
Like, she didn't do anything to mess with his plans or anything. Like, what happened because she was under that same spell? Like, what negative thing? I did not see anything.
Nothing happened. It just gets solved immediately.
Nope. She could have killed him with the Agile, easily. Well, he's sleeping.
I know.
You could have, even the Sisters of the Dark, like, maybe they're plotting longer, or it's a tougher thing to figure out about how they can get out from under Jagang's mind control. That could have been a more extended thing, but they just disappear for 300 pages and pop up again at the end to make the oath to Richard, and that problem is solved. So that's another reason why that felt so shitty to me, because also I didn't get to see them figure that shit out that great. So it all feels so unearned and so pointless, and there's just little to no through-line conflicts. The only thing that really has that is the Verna chapters, and
she doesn't even find the Sisters of the Dark.
Exactly.
So. Right.
And then once again, while we're here, I'll just throw in my little aside about how prophecies in any fantasy book suck, because first of all, spoilers. Second of all, in a series like this where there is just a bunch of bullshit prophecies, so you're just sifting through a bunch of things where people said shit at random and some of them could be real. How is that a prophecy thing? How can I not just set that up and just... Well, that is what people do, right? I know the future, and maybe some of them are right a little bit. By just pure chance. All of this is just unearned. It's unearned and not well developed, and I really don't like this series.
Yeah, you shouldn't read more, honestly. Like, I can just tell you what happens. Like,
nah, I think we've sat along here long enough already.
No, I'm just saying, like, not now. I just mean, like, in general. It's
okay.
Like, you want to know,
Later.
like, he becomes God at the end. The end. Like, literally what happens. So.
I mean, what was really gained in this third book?
Yeah.
Other than Richard just becoming cooler of a guy.
The Garmy?
Is he though? He's kind of like a big, tall, tough Ben Shapiro. Like,
oh no, I'm not saying in reality. I'm saying in the world of the series.
I shall use facts and logic and the sword of truth.
Fuck me.
Ben Rawl,
Ben Rawl Piro.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro.
There it is. You got
it. Yeah, like, this is sort of, Chris pointed this out, it's sort of a time filler book in this series. Like, some things happen, sure. Richard gets, the official Master of Dahara thing and gets access to the keep and whatever, but, like, I don't know. How much progress have we really made? It's like, it just doesn't seem like a whole lot of things happened, and maybe it feels that way because... nothing is really... all the solutions aren't really earned.
That's it.
The whole thing is just Richard's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Today you are a man. Yeah. That's the whole 600-page book.
But that Paris, you touched on it perfectly. Because everything feels so unearned, even Richard's leveling up that happened here, it feels useless because he just knows how to do shit. So wouldn't I just expect in the next few books that he just knows how to solve those problems without having to figure it out or do any work for it?
Yeah,
like
it doesn't
plague.
seem...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what is my reason after reading book 3 to read book 4? If I know that everyone of meaning is never going to really die, if I know that Richard can always immediately figure out all problems, if there's never any real danger or really a central mystery, it's like, why do I bother continuing with the series?
Yeah, when you're on, like, the 7th book and he's still fighting the Imperial Order in Jagang, and there's all these long, like, he literally gives, like, libertarian speeches to people in the old world about how, like, communism is bad and capitalism is good. Like, other than the next book ending by him beating the villain by punching him in the stomach and pulling out his spine, Mortal Kombat style.
Oh my
there's
God.
not really anything worthwhile, I would say. Like I said, I like book 6 because it actually puts Richard in danger and has some stakes, but I am absolutely not going to read 4 and 5 to get there. I'm going to read book 1 to see if if there's some stakes. I can't remember, but that's it.
The only other point I wanted to make was just that sometimes Terry's writing is decent, and I think that that can trick a lot of people into reading this series. So, you know, it's not a series that's like full of typos or awkward sentences. I think it passes the low bar for like, hey, this is pretty digestible, you know?
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, people might be more inclined to think it's good.
It's competent.
Yeah.
But not really. Again, once the next few books, it gets less and less
Yeah.
competent. And like, okay, who's the Marxist girl in college who hurt you, Terry?
Well, no, I'm just talking about, I guess, the technicality of the writing and
I meant to
the
ask specifically
phrasing and
about
things
that.
like that.
You guys would know better than me. Are long run-on sentences like common in fantasy? Is that like a thing? Like where they just go, full paragraphs that are one sentence?
I mean, if you use the right punctuation, it can be fine. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
happens
can-
in
it can read
philosophy a
fine.
whole
But,
lot.
yeah, but not it depends. It's writer to writer. It's different. Having read a lot of fantasy books in this quarantine period, no, Terry is a big offender of the run-on sentence.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you described that same thing 3 different ways. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I don't know. I like TJ pointed out, this book was written in 94, 96?
96.
It was, copyrighted in 96, so we're talking mid-90s here when it was written, so yeah, obviously it was a different time, and I get that, that's how many years ago now, but I just think that there have also been plenty of really good books that don't have these problems that were written at the same time or well before it.
Like the other 24 books in this series.
The what?
There's 24 books in this series. I just counted them in the front of the book.
God, okay.
I didn't know he did that many.
Oh, that's too many. But I don't know. I think that there are plenty of great fantasy books out there from the past that don't have these problems, so I don't necessarily want to hand wave away these issues.
And any of my
but-
defenses are just pedantic and having fun. It's bad and gross and lots of other things that there's better things to spend your time reading for sure.
So can we fix it?
I want to skip over Can We Fix It because I don't think we can, Paris.
Yeah,
and I want to do
You
a
wrote
separate
24 books.
I want to play a separate game, Paris.
Oh.
So we're not going to fix it because the magic system is fundamentally broken, as is the way the conflicts are written entirely. So I would like to play this game with you, Paris. And this is kind of for me and you only. TJ is going to feel a little bit left out right here.
That's cool.
We recently read another blood-based fantasy book, The Law of Blood. So, Paris, I want you and I to compare Maradonia and Sword of Truth. They're very similar, especially in these third books of the series. Number one, protagonists that are always correct and know how to do shit just because they are the protagonist and know how to do shit.
Oh my God, Chris, you're blowing my mind right now because I think you're right.
The final mind blow. Magic rules that make no sense and always just get solved a couple chapters later by some other Deus Ex Magica thing happening.
Okay.
Maradonia didn't have people that were anti-magic necessarily, I think.
No, I don't think so. They just had different kinds of evil Everyone kind of had magic.
Well, black
So
and
that's
white
different.
characters is another thing that's
very, very, yeah, gender and gender and sexuality binaries,
yeah.
everything
moral
very,
binaries too.
Moral binary, yep.
That's enough, I think, because those are the big structural points, I would say, that make them pretty similar in execution, because, Terry's definitely a better writer.
Oh, yeah, I would
mechanically.
say it would be very cruel to say that his work bears any resemblance in the technical writing aspect, or like you said, mechanically, to
But plot-wise, they
Maradonia,
have the
but-
exact same failings. So, really, quality-wise, I wouldn't want to read either because of that, because there's just no stakes to anything in either of these worlds.
Yeah, and there's also like the main characters having plot armor and and being just ridiculous. You know, like when Richard's like, "I am the death and the way, and I'm gonna give my sword some blood. I'll let it have some blood."
Yeah,
like,
Joey
that's,
does that shit too all the time.
Yeah, it's as dumb as the Joey shit and Maya shit in this in Law of Blood.
Also, both have a third book with blood in the title, so you know.
Yeah. I didn't really think about this beforehand, so.
No, I didn't want it to be a long, lengthy thing. I just wanted to point out the obvious, like I said, structural similarities between how these books are approached in terms of plot setup and resolution, which is a major part of a story. That's like the thing with stories, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least the world of sort of truth stuff makes a little more sense overall, just like in terms of geography.
Sure, yeah, I'll give it that.
And I do think, like TJ pointed out, I do think Zed is actually kind of a decent character in some ways. Like, he's fun to read about. I like him. He made a likable character. I know I'm really reaching here, but whereas in Maradonia, nothing sounds like a person. It sounds like a weird broken robot wrote that thing. So,
all right, well, I think that's it. Unless anyone has anything else to say about this.
I don't know.
Chris,
TJ,
what does it mean in Audacity if your cursor turns red?
I don't know.
I don't know.
As long as your waveform's still going, then we should be fine.
Just like it just turned red. I think it's just telling me you wrapping it up, buddy.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up, Paris.
All right. Well, thank you for surviving this extremely long-ass episode of Terrible Book Club. Thank you to our patrons, Dari, Greg, Will, Veronica, D, Lynn, Sinya, Jakub, Bobby Blackcat, Jensina, Mayo Cat, Elliot, Kieran, Martin, and Jay. Thank you, of course, to TJ for being here today and for guiding us through this fucked up and horny world. If you'd like to support the show, you can donate to us on Patreon for some various fun rewards. You can subscribe or follow us on Goodreads, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. You can share the show, tell some people about it, and you can also rate and review us on a platform of your choice, such as Podbean, Podchaser, or iTunes. If you want to contact us, you can send us a message on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads, or you can send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com. I am done with today. Yeah. I don't know. Are we good? I think we're good.
That's it.
Did we want to say what the next episode is before we go?
Let's save it a surprise. I think it'll be very unique and fun.
It will be. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for being here. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, TJ, and we're gonna banish TJ back to the Midlands.
Yes, I hope I never return. You don't want to read any more of these.
No, we don't.
All right. Bye, Paris. Bye, TJ.
All right. Bye.